All right, welcome everybody to the Level GG Battlefield 2042 Roundtable discussion. I am your host and moderator, Gravity, here, and with me is three amazing people, Battlefield players, experts, who are going to take you through a discussion of Battlefield 2042, what we know, what we don't know, and just kind of give you the facts of what we know about the game. I am, just to give you a heads up of who I am Gravity. I'm a Battlefield 1940. I've played competitive Battlefield since Battlefield 1942, all the way through Battlefield 4. I don't know what Brett's doing. I am also a Battlefield 2 and Battlefield 4 caster since for about a year and a half now, and I've always loved Battlefield. To my right is JulianJanganoo. Battlefield player since the beginning of Battlefield 1942, Battlefield 5 streamer, Twitch streamer, YouTuber, and host and moderator of the Battlefield show on his channel. Above me is Incarnate, Battlefield player since the early days of Battlefield 4 competitive player, current operator of Team Synthic and Sim.gg, and admin of Level BF. And the last but not least, we have the legendary BrettFX, competitive Battlefield player for Battlefield 3, caster since BF3 as well, casted for Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4. I believe, did you do some BF5 as well, Brett?
I did casting in every single Battlefield except for, well, from Battlefield 3 on.
All right, so and you've casted some Call of Duty. So we are here, the four of us, to bring you everything that we know about Battlefield 2042, and kind of give you a best discussion of what we can hope to see in the game, and give you some facts. So with that, let's start just with some initial talk about the game's marketing, just real quick. So obviously the game was announced just about last month. How do you guys think the initial build up to the release is going so far? Do you have any thoughts on how the marketing is going? Maybe say different from BF1 or BF5. Do you think it's going better so far? Do you have better hopes for the game?
So let's go ahead and have Julian take it, then I'll go, and then Incarnate will go last because I hate him.
Wow. Well, the marketing is going surprisingly well. Very less political. It is really, even though there's certain articles that want to push a political narrative onto the game, it doesn't seem to be sticking at all. So that's good. Less politics in the game is better. More focus on if the game will even function on release and have all its features ready will be a better way to think things through. But the marketing is fantastic so far. With the initial trailer was amazing. I liked it. There are a lot of callbacks to older games, even like memes and stuff that YouTubers made up as well, even ended up in the official programs. And I think that's really cool. It really shows that they care about veteran players now, and they want to cater to them as much as possible. I think that was a huge criticism in all the other previous games. So that's a good thing right now. And just right now, we just want so much information. And they're just spacing it out. Like, relax, kids. Okay, we're going to give you all the treats. But they want to be very careful about putting out information that could be interpreted incorrectly. So they're just kind of hiding things, especially with the whole battle royale stuff that they're marketing. People are already thinking about that because of Firestorm. They're like, oh, well, that was just a test. So of course they're going to have one, right? So with their new marketing of other game experiences, they need to be careful in saying that, hey, this Hazard Zone thing is pretty cool, but it's not Battle Royale. And they're being very precise in their wording and how they are changing certain features. So I think it's not bad right now, but they really got to start pumping out the real gameplay information here on the 22nd.
Yeah, I can agree on that last point, especially. For the most part, for me, I didn't really think that the last game was very political at first. I think it developed into being political after the fact. Like the trailer itself is very just meh. I mean, it just wasn't
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of morphed into something. But yeah, I mean, the fact that they're not just absolutely out there having executives sitting there saying, "Well, don't buy the game if you don't like it," because that didn't work out for them.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think that they're doing it, just typically like what you would normally see. I mean, there's nothing too crazy here going on. I personally am not a big fan of them waiting for as long as they did. I'm kind of one of those people that's just like just drop me the details and then tell me when it's releasing and then I'll buy the game. Because I mean it's Battlefield. I'm gonna buy it every year. Like I mean, we like to harp on Call of Duty guys for buying the game every year, but let's be honest, like Battlefield, most of the Battlefield community, they buy the game every single freaking year. So for me, that's kind of where I'm at with it. I think that it was a good trailer. It was. I agree with Julian on this one. It hit some really good points that makes older players like myself sit there and go, okay, so maybe they're starting to listen. One thing that I do want to mention is that so I am a part of the EA Game Changers, except for this year, I guess I didn't make the cutoff list, so I have absolutely no idea what's going on any of the stuff whatsoever. I didn't even get invited to the pre-show thing that you saw a lot of the YouTubers talk about in their videos beforehand. Which in the last couple of Battlefields, I actually was invited to. So I could actually legitimately, without lying and without saying, well, there's something there. I have absolutely no idea what's going on. What everybody else is seeing, I have seen. So it's kind of exciting in that regard. At the same time, it's kind of annoying as well, but I think it's good.
I'm gonna echo a little bit of some of that stuff, but also I have to say for the trailer, I mean, yes, it was a good trailer compared to BF5s especially, but I think they played in a lot to the like the Rendazook scene, for example, is something that a lot of veteran fans might recognize, but I know it's not the gameplay trailer, but I do have my suspicions, right? Because you don't want just these key highlight meme moments that you see kind of pop up from YouTubers or from some highlight channel. You want to see actual gameplay, and that's what I'm hoping to see more of come the 22nd.
hmm
BFI's big reveal trailer was an issue for me, not because it was a bad trailer. I mean, it was a weird trailer. It was a little bit off tone compared to what Battlefield usually is. But they tried to showcase a lot of like the mechanics in the game and some like the customization, that kind of stuff. And they did the same thing here, but they did it better. So they definitely learned something from BF5 and they went forward, did a better job. The marketing is definitely going more solid this time around. I agree that they shouldn't be waiting so long, but also I think Call of Duty hasn't advertised anything as far as I know. It's all just rumors for the next Call of Duty. So that's their biggest competition. I know you don't want to compare Call of Duty to Battlefield, but that is their biggest market competition. And as far as Call of Duty is concerned, they had one like pre-alpha demo that kind of popped up on BattleNet's backend, and that was like Call of Duty Strip. I don't know what it's called. Slipstream backwards. That was backwards.
Like we're stripping now for Call of Duty. Wow,
maybe I don't know. We'll see.
Kind of X-rated game going on.
Yeah. So that was like the only thing and there's no other details, right? So Call of Duty has kind of fallen on the back foot right now. Battlefield has the opportunity. I hope they come out strong on the 22nd. I hope they just really show a gameplay trailer and just gameplay that is not scripted, not artificial, just totally genuine, showing off exactly what this game is about and what we're supposed to be looking forward to come the alpha, beta, and initial release in October.
I just want to touch up on something you just mentioned there, because about the trailer having a lot of moments that are, well, that the community knows, like the Rendazook. So I think the biggest problem with the trailer is, yeah, it shows all these highlighted moments, but these fans might recognize them because these things have been performed in past Battlefield games. But the question is, are they? And we saw this in the behind the scenes video. Like, are they actually? These are like very much pre-rendered things. Like, we don't know if certain mechanics will prevent you from doing these things. Battlefield 5 had a much harder time with, the fact that you had this enter and exit animations. Do we even know if BF 2042 is going to have full-on enter exit animations? Because they didn't really show it in the trailer, and even in the gameplay trailer, we don't see these things. They showed a couple enter animations, but we don't know for sure if these moments are even capable of happening again, or if players have this freedom. So that's one of those things that is just up in the air about the trailer. It's definitely a trailer that shows. The idea of it is to show you what mechanics are capable. but at this point, it's hard to believe them without
Right.
without the mechanic, demonstrations.
And that was the thing with BF5, right? Like, you had teammate dragging that was showed off in a trailer. You had vehicle crash, deformation into the landscape. All these things that were shown off, and people were like, "Where is this in the full release?" And
Yep.
I don't want to see that happen again in the 2042, because that took a lot of attention away from maybe other valid criticisms, that could have just been totally ignored, but the art department wasn't kept in check, or art department had an idea and it was confirmed to be in the game, then it didn't work, and they just didn't scrap it for the trailer. Whatever the situation is, I mean, the Rendazook is the big example there. You have a guy popping out of the hood of the cockpit seat of a jet, and then climbs back in, and all of that looks like smooth animations, right? But will that actually be how it works in the game? We don't know yet, and that's, again, I think 20 seconds what we're really waiting for here.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Well, just to jump into our next big thing here. So the game is obviously going to launch in October, about October 15th, October 2015 for early access. October 22nd, I think, for the full game release. Game was going to launch with 7 maps, 7 128 player maps, and this is a big deal because Battlefield's never done this before. And they are big, and they are broken down into 2 totally different things. They're broken down into sectors and your basic and your normal flags, and the whole rundown of that is completely different from any other Battlefield game because it's meant to kind of keep you focused on sections of the map rather than completely out in the open. And quite frankly, Brett, how is this gonna differ from past Battlefields? Do you think it's gonna be just kind of a complete mess, or do you think players are going to be actually not being able to be thrown into a grind?
No, I don't think it's going to be good. So yeah, the size of the maps have been a problem, increasingly a problem since Battlefield 1. You had what was it, Sinai Desert or something like that that came out. It was absolutely garbage. You had one flag that was literally out by itself, and nobody fucking went out there. Oh, I'm sorry for my language. Let me rewind that. Nobody went out there and tried to really do anything, and maybe the random person would go out there, and it just really, it didn't make a whole lot of sense. And I think that we've seen progressively since then, and through Battlefield 1 expansions, and then in Battlefield 5, these ridiculously big maps that just, you're like, why? Why is this big? Why is this a big deal? Now, I understand what they're talking about with clustering. I see the idea behind it. What I think we're going to be running into with this clustering of objectives, because what was basically told in the doc that just came out here recently was that you have to have all 3 or 4 or 5. They didn't give an exact number. They used 3, I think, as an example. But you have to have all of those objectives in that sector before you can start getting points from it, whether it's going to be counting up or counting down in Conquest, but you have to have all of them.
And move up. So it's almost
Exactly.
they almost mixing breakthrough into it almost. It almost
So
seems,
if you think about it, how easy is it going to be for that one little rat to jump all the way into the back of the map and start decapping stuff? And then the next thing you know, nobody's going backwards to try and cap things. And you just end up with this very annoying situation where players like us who want to win, we can't enjoy the fight, the big fights, because we're constantly in the back of our map trying to clean up these 1s and 2s and 3s people that are back here decapping and making it so that we can't get those points. So that's number 1 issue that I have. Number 2 issue that I have is that I think we are going to see a situation where, because you are not going to be able to cap a full sector because you're going to have multiple objectives, you're going to have one team that is just about to capture all of them. And just like in Breakthrough in Battlefield 1, about to capture it, and then all of a sudden, boop, one back behind them goes decap, and then they just go in circles. And you just have this constant circular effect going on in the sector, and nothing ever gets done. And you're going to have basically maybe 1-2 sectors that are going to be owned by the teams, and then the other sectors that are needed in order to push that point score forward, they're never going to get capped. And it's just going to be this long, drawn out, very boring kind of stalematey feeling going to it. So we'll see. I that's just kind of my worry for it, especially when you're talking about 128 players. Like, that's a lot of random BS that you got to deal with.
Also, I just want to jump in here with that is, when we're talking about this whole clustering system and sectors, are we actually talking about throwing 128 players in and restricting them in that zone Because they have these giant maps, right? Or are you literally free to go on this around the whole huge map, but but the objective is still in that section?
I would say in Conquest, they are not going to limit anything. They're
Mhm.
going to allow you to go, if there's a sector all the way in the back, they're more than likely going to allow you to go all the way in the back to be able to decap a few of those sectors. Now, there was another game mode, right? It was like a breakthrough-esque type
Breakthrough.
mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is guaranteed to be in the
Yeah.
game. They did mention that.
That I would imagine you will have to get it in sequence in order to progress throughout the game. But Conquest, I think they are going to basically just leave it your same old style Conquest where you can cap any flag you want. You just have to capture the full cluster of objectives before you can start gaining points.
Right.
Yeah, but that's all we know about
Yeah.
Conquest. There's a lot we don't know. We don't even know what decapping is going to be like. We don't know what spawning is going to be like. We don't even know if you'll be able to respawn at a certain flag for a certain amount of times. Because, like, think about it. If you have regular Conquest for 128 players, what's the number one thing that happens where it just ruins it? Because there's a specific formula for Battlefield and 64 player Conquest, right? There's like a whole balance. So I remember when they started modding Battlefields, like I think it was like Battlefield 2 and then Battlefield 3, I think they did, where they added more players, like 128 players, right? The biggest problem with that, and you keep it just one flag, just normal, it was a cluster at every single flag, or there's a better term for that, but yeah, it was bad. Every flag was you're just ping ponging off each other at one flag, or you're just getting a whole bunch of squads together and you're zerging. You're just zerging every single flag around. And when they stated that they were going to have increased player count, they have to change Conquest in some way to prevent that. And this is their answer. But there's just not enough information for me to see if this is going to work. I can only base it off of like a game like, I don't know, World War III. Did you guys hear about World War III? They have some sort of cluster or zone capture thing for their Conquest. Is that what Battlefield's adapting, or they have something else that we don't know about, that players may have to interact with things to maybe, I don't know, maybe there's some sort of like AI that I don't know, kind of makes people go in specific directions. Like, I don't know. I feel like Battlefield players just do whatever the hell they want, and especially veteran players, the number one thing to really piss off people is to go back cap. So are they gonna do something about that? I guess we'll find out, right?
I think. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say another point on that. But top of that is, yeah, Battlefield players really do want to do what they want to. They do what they want to do. If they want to snipe and not play an objective, they do that. And if you added the Battlefield 5's, I forget what they're not the unlock system, the achievements, the challenges. If you add that to the mix, where you require players to sit prone on a flag and try to get 10 headshots on a flag. Well, then, yeah, that's going to be complete junk because you have all these players just trying to do their own challenges and their own thing rather than playing the actual game. And yeah, it's gross. That's why we hope that they don't have that in there as well.
I don't want to be a pessimist throughout this entire thing, but it does scare me. Like I kind of do. Yeah, it's fun.
Battlefield 5,
Brett,
dude.
what you said when you started off, and you
exists.
said no, and yeah, I know Battlefield 5. Yeah, 120. The increase in players does not solve any problems here. I think that was a necessity made out of marketing. Hey, we got to go bigger, got to go better. Sometimes good things come in small packages. 64 players is a large enough amount of number of players. Excuse you. I thought we were keeping this clean here.
What are we talking about?
Dropping F-bombs or something. So like as I understood, I think from the videos of the trailers, some of the briefs that they were talking about, I think, and I could be wrong, that the clustering system is like you don't get points until you kind of cap all three of them or four of them in a cluster, but it's intended to be like conquest sections. So like you have 64 player, obviously not 64 player again, but you would break 128 down into 3 sections and have maybe 3 clusters or whatever it might be. And so that way, you cap one of those cluster flags, you still have 2 other points for your team to spawn on and stop that back cap.
So maybe
or to get back in that metro meat grinder in the middle of 4 cap zones.
So maybe what it actually comes down to, what it boils down to, is a version less breakthrough and more of a version like Frontlines, but more like multiple sections of Frontlines on a map where instead of 1 flag, it's 3, and they advance and they go back and forth over the course of different areas of the map.
Something like that. I think it's not Conquest that way. I think I think it's going to be Conquest on like a sectional scale, right? So you have 3 flags here. It's kind of like Domination or something in between, where it's here's 4 flags within 75 meters of each other, and then here's another section on the other side of the map with 4 flags 75 meters in between each other. Once you cap each of the sections, they start battling out.
There has to be incentives.
Oh yeah, but that's exactly it. Like we said, Battlefield players, the new players, don't really get incentivized by anything except if they think it's cool, right? Yeah. So you're gonna have new players running around sniping at the corner, 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers away, doing nothing. You're gonna have that same issue. You're gonna have people who are Infi gods in the middle of the map trying to frag out, and you're gonna have even more useless teammates than usual. I mean, especially if you remove 3D spotting or any easy way to communicate between other squads, you're not gonna have any real effectiveness between these squads. It's just gonna be more chaos, not that chaos is a bad thing in Battlefield, but just the lack of organization. I mean, they have to have a system here that's going to implement good communication between all these players.
I think the reason why they're going with a cluster system is they're trying to stop the zerging effect.
Right.
It was a huge issue in BF1 and BF5. Just this constant circular, because in BF1 they changed the way the point system worked, where you got more points for capturing than you did defending, and so people were just like, "Oh, I'm just going to go to the next flag," and then the next thing you know, their flag gets capped because there was a guy sitting on the ground just waiting for them to leave, playing Battlefield like Battlefield typically is played, not going for points all the time. So I think the cluster idea was there to try and make them almost have some invest more into a sector, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the new flag.
That way you don't have all 128 players in the same place.
Yeah, and one of the things too that they mentioned is that these objectives that you have to capture, they're not necessarily flags. So they said that they could be different things. So for all we know, that it may be like a bomb that we have to set, and then later on somebody has to go and repair it, and then there could be various things in there that actually could attract, like you said, those new players' attention. It's like, oh, this is different than just standing in a zone and then all of a sudden, boop, it magically pops up and I've got it. So there might be something more to it in that regard. But I think it was there to stop the zerging, to try and get people to actually play, and stay and fight and actually play over an objective instead of just running to the next one.
I agree with that, but I think zerging is just going to be a thing that happens in each sector. You're going to have a group of 30 players here, 30 players there, 30 players there. They're all going to be zerging in that little sector in a circle between flags. It's not going to...
You're just going to have it going around circles. Yeah. But I mean...
Here's the thing I think we might be missing here is there are specific features in this game that are going to allow players to traverse the map in ways we've never done before. Okay? That changes things, especially with the if you compare it to Battlefield 5, there's not a lot of ways to get to flags, especially using vehicles people just don't want to get into vehicles because it's a trap and you'll get blown up to pieces. There's not a lot of fast moving vehicles either. The fastest vehicle I think we've ever found were in the DLC stuff, like the new Wake Island has like the fast mini boats or things like that. There just wasn't much. Yeah. There's not much going on. You got people with fucking wings. You got people riding tornadoes. You got you could drop any vehicle you want and zoom to the next one. People are just going to get places faster and a lot.
Well,
I hope that's true.
Imagine if your wingsuit player is the squad leader, and suddenly you've got 3 infantry spawning off with the squad leader 200 feet in the air, half a mile back. I mean, it's.
I agree with you, but at the same time, I think there's other elements in there that I'm going to be that Debbie Downer. So Incarnate passed
That's
the
good.
baton to me.
All
Please
right.
take it.
No.
Have fun. Oh wait,
So
wrong way. That way.
the thing is though, is that they talked about these traversal areas, and yeah, you're absolutely right. You're going to be able to have call-ins. You're going to be able to have these other ways of getting around. You know,
Yeah.
for all we know, they're going to have a subway in there that we can go tickets on to get from place to place. But I don't know. But what is going to happen, I think, is air vehicles are going to have one heck of a fun time picking off these fast movers going between points and points.
Mm-hmm.
When they had that video blog a while ago, when they were describing the traversal areas between these clusters of sites on that desert map, I mean, he at one point was saying, you know, it's wide open desert that you're moving in between. That's the perfect position there for just helicopters and jets. Just go, all right, well, you're dead, and you're dead, and you're dead. And if you're in a fast mover, you have no countermeasures, which and
Yeah.
they may this time, I don't know, but most of the time they don't. Then you're just going to die constantly trying to get from place to place. And that is where I think we're going to be seeing that stalemate that I was talking about before,
Mm.
where one team doesn't want to risk going out and basically being farmed the entire time. The other team can't quite break in to capture all of those sectors. So you just get this. They can't do anything. You have your home sectors that are captured, and that's it.
I think what this boils down to is the fact that this game has 3 giant game modes, right? And they've announced one of them a month ago. And quite frankly, the fact that we are still discussing what this game mode has or has not in it, and we don't even know how it really plays and functions, is a failure of their marketing team. Because quite frankly, if they're going to start announcing another game mode here in 5 days, that is completely different from the 7 map 128 player thing. I mean, people might just say, screw this 128 player mode. That, hey, we played enough of the Call of Duty Modern Warfare, not Warzone. What was the other big one with vehicle that had like 100 players in it? That had 80 players. Ground War. Yeah. So they'll be like, well, screw that. We'll just go play, whatever the other 2 are, Hazard and the other one. But it's like, again, we don't know. And speaking of not knowing things, we've got these 128 player maps. Let's just switch topics here to go to the next topic. Let's talk about vehicles. Do we know? I mean, we need to know how many vehicles spawn on these extra large maps. We know for a fact that vehicles are going to be spawnable in the uncaps, and you can just spawn in them like past Battlefield games. We don't know if they are preset vehicles like in Battlefield 4, or if they are, or if you can choose them like BF1 and BF5, which is a recipe for disaster. We do know that you can call them down, that literally anybody can call them down, but there's a cooldown for it. And we know that the AI bots can call them down. So in these sectors, the question is, how effective are these vehicles? Are they going to be just completely everywhere on a map? How strong are they going to be, and how great are infantry going to be able to take them out? Because at this point, when you have the topic of infantry being able to everybody have a rocket, I mean, that initially to me seems like, hey, there's going to be a ton of tanks that that everybody's going to be able to just to counter the number of rockets. So I feel like the amount of 128 players is really going to be a complete disaster for vehicle players as far as ground vehicles.
Yeah, I think once you increase, I'm trying to compare it to Star Wars Battlefront 2, which is kind of odd because there's not any vehicles in there, but there's a call-in system there in disguise, like calling in a hero or something, right? All that would be now in 2042. It'll be on your little tablet, right? So imagine, I don't know if they're gonna somehow increase the amount of things you can call in based on the amount of players, but I feel like it's going to get even more annoying to try to call in like Luke Skywalker, right? Because you have to wait till they die or something. Now you have a lot more people trying to call in certain things you want, and maybe you're not going to get it. So they're going to have to like scale it in some ways, I think. But I don't know.
So like BF5 does with like the call-ins for like the Storm Tiger and stuff. So there's only like one on a map that a squad can call in at a time. So if like in BF 2042 you'd say you can call in, have 10 call-in tanks that are active at a time, something like that.
Yeah, we just don't know how many are going to be allowed, so they're going to have to scale it in a way to where it's not annoying to where just players just ignore their tablet and their call in. Is like, well, what's the point, right? Um, and then they got to think about like how many like those robot dogs. There's just only a specific amount you're gonna be able to have in. That's going to be like a vehicle call in. You have to pick and choose certain things, but I think there's going to be more things that are more enticing than the robot dog. It just comes down to giving the players choices, a lot of choices for their specific predicament, and I think that's what their choice is.
If I
That's
go
what
off
their
that,
decision is.
that terrifies the hell out of me, actually, because
Exactly.
I don't like that. I mean, so the thing about BF3 and 4 that it's so great is that I can go into a map and I can know exactly what vehicles are going to be up against. I can know exactly kind of like where they'll be playing. If I play enough time and invest enough time in the battlefield, I'll know kind of how I would play in that situation as that team with that vehicle, etc. BF5 and BF1 did away with that, and all of a sudden you don't know what you're going up against as a vehicle player. If you're going against other vehicles, you don't know if as an infantry what vehicles are going to be over there, and you have no information to equip you going into a fight until you get killed by it or until you get a good look at it, and you might die. And that really sucks.
So one of the things that they had said, and this I think was also in a Jack Frags video a while ago, they did say that there is going to be a definite cap on certain kinds of vehicles. So we're
Yeah.
not going to have to worry about having 128 Ranger dogs running around with C4 on them. C5, my bad.
C5.
C5.
Yeah. So I think that's that's going to be a given. The second thing that I really liked about it is that there is, according to, I believe this was in the Jack Frags video, no more Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5 spawn screen. You are going to be seeing, so you will have the call up tablet obviously to have, but as far as like if you die and the vehicles that are spawned are going to be on the map, they're not going to be in a situation where you have to just spam it and then hope that you have the right kit up in order to take it. So that's going to be something I think that is to look forward to in that regard. And I think that if they don't, I can't imagine that it would be mentioned like that unless there were stuff like tanks or IFVs and whatnot that could do more damage than just a fast mover. Wouldn't really have been mentioned. And if that's the case, then I think that we will be seeing some, to what you were talking about, Incarnate, like some defined idea as to what is going to be around there, right?
Mhm.
So if we know that there is going to be a vehicle cap, so they can only have, let's say, 10 IFVs, and we know 5 of them are going to be spawning on the map, we'll know that there's going to be 5 others that are going to be called in. So we'll
Well,
kind of have an idea in that regard, in my
right.
opinion. But I mean, I think it's a good change. I like having caps on vehicles. I like the fact that we're not going to be seeing hopefully a situation to where everybody spawns in with AAs. That was real fun in Battlefield 5. Don't know how that got past them. But those situations I think are probably going to not happen as much anymore. Now, the one thing I am concerned about, and yes, I did see somebody in chat saying that we don't know enough to have an in-depth discussion. We know some stuff, so we're going to speculate a little bit, but not a whole lot. Um, who all have they mentioned? Who all is going to be able to have call-ins? Is it just a squad leader setup, or is it going to be every
It
single
seemed like
player
everybody.
on the map?
They said,
Okay.
yeah,
Everybody, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so if that is the case, then I'm not as worried about the call-ins. In fact, I kind of like the idea of call-ins. Did you guys ever play Homefront?
Mhm.
Okay, so Homefront had a call-in system for their tanks and their helicopters, and that was really cool because as soon as I did well enough to be able to get those points to grab that vehicle, I was rewarded and was able to grab that vehicle, and I liked that system. I thought that was a really good system. And I think that with the amount of people that we have on the maps, and with the amount of both vehicles and anti, vehicle armaments that we'll have for infantry, I don't think vehicles are going to be super duper OP. As far as the ground vehicles, the air vehicles, totally different story. I think air vehicles are just imbalanced, inherently imbalanced, anyways,
Yeah.
especially with good pilots in them. But yeah, I think vehicles are going to be pretty interesting in this next game. I got a
Well,
question for you though, Gravity,
yes.
because you're a big vehicle guy,
Yep.
right? So you were talking about in Battlefield 5. Did you? I can't remember if you said you did not like the tree that was there for the vehicles. Is that what you were saying before?
No, I don't care for the tree at all. It plays way too much into almost a tic-tac-toe. It's not rock paper scissors. It's very much a tic-tac-toe, because the whole idea of, in BF3, BF4, and everything well previously, you either had two jets that were slightly off, as far as their difference in their turn radius or something like that, or their speed, or you had a max turn rate of 313 or something like that, like BF4. In BF5, you have this tree that completely skews that by a hell of a lot based on one or two different quirks, and it completely ruins any balance of air or ground dominance depending on what you have. And it's a really ridiculous system, and it completely nerfs the capabilities, especially not only that, but there's a grind to it, an extreme grind to it. So it's not like you can just grab a jet right off the bat and say, hey, I'm going to dogfight. It's, hey, I'm going to grab a jet and BF5, or a plane and BF5, and suffer for 10 hours until I grind this plane up down to rank 6 or whatever, until I can get the proper turn radius and dogfight.
Unless you buy 10,000 Battlefield coin, and then you could
those don't apply to that. No,
you can't even pay for it. Yeah.
Oh, you can? I thought they had like fast skip systems.
I wrote a whole essay about this stuff because it drove me up the wall. I played a lot of vehicles in BF5. It's the most tolerable way to play BF5 is if you're not getting health attrition and ammo attrition as a soldier, right? You just sit in a vehicle, pew pew, kill some infantry. Exactly echoing what Gravity said. It's not ideal for new players, right? You get a new player and he has none of the upgrades that all the new players or the previous players that have been playing for a while have. They come in there and they don't have the turn radius spec. They don't have the extra bomb spec, so they can't even earn points to get the turn radius spec. They don't have the, any of these spec upgrades for these planes. They get farmed instantly, knocked out of the sky. They don't have a fun time. They don't come back.
Yeah,
Same thing for tanks.
That's been in every Battlefield game.
No,
right, it's never been to
it hasn't.
Such an extreme.
Well, okay, it's been in the modern Battlefield.
Right,
games.
but take BF3 for example,
BF4.
BF4. You can still have a tank in BF3, BF4, or a helicopter in BF3, BF4, and it'll still be almost as effective as someone who has a couple of upgrades here and there to make it more effective or more specified to what you want to do. Like attack helis get heat seekers off the bat, and then you can get tow missiles. You can do a little bit more ground damage, but you're still effective against something. Battlefield 4 planes have nothing. Zero.
Or BF4?
You don't have Battlefield 5. They have nothing. They start off with nothing. At least the Battlefield 1 things, even though they didn't have customization, they had kind of balance to it where like you get this kit and you have everything unlocked.
Yeah.
That was at least a little bit better for the newer player coming in. But Battlefield 5 it's just pain on so many levels. Whether you're infantry on the receiving end who didn't have a way to kill air vehicles effectively until the Fleeker Pals came out like a year and a half in, unless you're on a stationary AA, which all the pilots just learned where it was and just nuked them off the spawn. It was just it's the whole vehicle system. And I think touch on two more things real quick. The first one being the squad call-ins. I hope there's a sector-based like limit, so you can't have all 64 squads or whatever come to the same place, all call in their same vehicles, and you just have IFVs roll, like that would be terrible. So I hope they have sector limits there. And the other thing I hope for is one thing they mentioned in the, I think it was the developer interview section. They said, and you can see this in the trailer, the more people you have in your tank or in your vehicle, the more effective it's going to be. And that terrifies me because I can't trust anybody besides my squad if I'm playing with friends to be effective in my vehicle or be effective in my helicopter or whatever it is. I can't trust them because I might get, a 140 Colonel, or I might get a level 1 that just bought it off of Amazon Prime, and he's fresh to the game. And if I need 4 other people in my tank to be effective as the other tank next to me, who's got 4 friends in there, and I'm not playing with any friends, I'm screwed. Or if my tank, requires at least 2 people to function, like maybe, I hope it's not like this bad where one person has to turn the turret and the other person has to shoot. Please no.
God.
I don't think it'll be that bad. Because like the tank we saw in the trailer was like main driver, side gunner.
Yeah, so there's a top gunner, there's a spotter, there's a mine layer, which if there's a spotter seat makes me think, oh great, there's a bunch of lock-on javelins around the map or some sort of thing. So let's talk about the vehicle physics, because we do have a notification here that vehicle physics are supposed to be harder to control and harder to operate, which makes me think of the early days of Battlefield, like BF2 and BF3 physics, where tanks are really clunky and they fumble around terrain, and versus say a really smooth terrain BF4 tank, that kind of terrifies me as well, of getting stuck on things, especially given some of the terrain we've seen. What are your thoughts on vehicle physics and tinkering with those?
Julian,
As
take
long
it
as
away.
it's
I don't have many thoughts on vehicles. I'm not a vehicle player that much. The I don't know. I really can't say much about vehicles right now or how I'd want them. I just want a balanced experience, and through that it will be playtesting. They gotta play test the shit out of it every day, and
Hopefully.
yeah, hopefully. I know they're gonna have to prove that. So we'll see how that beta goes. We'll know right away, right?
Well,
well,
they
And
I know this is a little off, but they
yeah,
said they pushed back the technical test, right?
Yes.
yeah,
yes, yeah.
So that actually hasn't happened yet. So they're kind of scrunching it down to very. They're not going to be able to change much.
Battlefield
no,
5 coming up soon. Same kind of window where they push it off a month later.
Yeah.
Terrifies me. What was I
So
gonna
that's
anyways,
say?
the first.
sorry.
That's the first delay. Yeah, that's the first delay.
Yeah,
But
scary.
yeah, when it comes to vehicles, I don't know. You had a lot of good points, Incarnate, about what you can drop in a specific sector and how much. Like we just don't know anything
Right.
really
That's
about
the fine
all of
details
it.
we just don't know.
And quite frankly,
Yeah,
that'll determine the big gameplay experience of that mode, really, of how well you're able to deal with things, or how frustrating it is to deal with a bunch of tanks. Speaking of which, Incarnate just mentioned you got 4 seats in a tank these days. Now you got a bunch of tanks, you got a bunch of infantry, a bunch of players, and you have you've got loadouts for tanks, and you've got infinite ammo for tanks now. So it's get rid of the BF5 system where you have
That could be different. That could be different. Like in Battlefield 5, one of the trailers we saw is support had infinite ammo, and that was just a developer, oversight when they were playtesting the game,
right.
getting footage.
okay.
So we don't know
Well,
anything about that.
this was a Jack Frags when he saw their sneak behind video of gameplay. They actually got to see gameplay of it.
Oh, lucky them. Yeah.
The tanks had infinite ammo. There was no counter on it.
Okay.
Hmm.
So
Right. We
Okay.
see that in the
wasn't-
trailer too, the
yeah.
gameplay trailer.
I mean, it is there for now, anyways. Which
Sure.
I don't disagree with 100%. I do think that I do think that they don't need to have aid stations like health stations peppered around and force. I definitely don't think it should be self repair, like stay inside and self repair type thing.
No, yeah.
Because
I'm okay with the
basically,
auto regen we had in Battlefield 4 and 3. Just
exactly
like don't
because
take
And
the
the
extra
repair
20
tool, yeah.
seconds,
Yeah.
and you get a
because
slow kind of
basically
regen.
what you had was them camping around those freaking aid stations the entire
Yep.
time, and it was
And that's what
just
you had to do. Otherwise, you're just gonna die because you were in like Battlefield 5. You're in a slow tank. You push on point. You get hit twice. You have 50 damage gone. You have to either go back and heal, get out or heal, or have somebody, God forbid, when you're 31 blueberries help you out, which is not gonna happen.
Yeah. Attrition is
very rare.
bad. Attrition is boring. Get rid of it.
I'm okay with vehicle ammo attrition. I think that's fine. If you have a tank with 30 shells and it spams all 30
The
shells,
tanks,
and then
yeah.
it has to come back and give the infantry a breather if it hasn't
Well, they
died.
did that in
That's
BF2
okay.
with
Right,
jets.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, and that's okay. But I think infantry
Go
play,
back to the airfield.
kind of going off topic, but infantry attrition and
Yeah.
health, which we have not seen anything of. We just know the health
Nope.
bags and ammo bags exist. We don't know if you have
we
to
do
get attrition on
know
that.
we know something slightly about this. It was teased in that Q&A. The fact of the matter was, so they're bringing back the squad revive system like it
Yep.
is in BF5. However, if you don't have the specialist thing where you can instantly like play the medic and revive somebody at full health, every other squad revive now will not give you full health. They don't clarify
they
if
just pick you
there's
up.
attrition. Yeah, they don't clarify if you have a medic bag or if it requires med bags or anything. But it doesn't. They don't clarify if there's like attrition or anything. If you can't revive or give health past a certain point.
And that was the thing in Battlefield 5 too. In the alpha, you got shot, and then if you got revived by a teammate a squad mate, you only got I think 20 or 40 HP. You did not get the full bar, and then they changed that for the beta because people were saying I got shot, I didn't get any health because no one was playing medic. Because why would you? You play assault, you had the STG, and so nobody got healed. They just were stuck at 40 health for the rest of their life until they died again in 2 bullets. It's just the attrition system makes everything more painful than it needs to be, and I hope it doesn't come back.
Speaking of which, that's a good transition into our specialization category with our equipment, our customized loadouts, because we do see that there are 4 slots in a customized loadout as per that Q&A. There's a primary weapon, there's a piece of equipment, there's a secondary weapon, and a throwable. Now, the interesting thing was the equipment includes supply crates and medic crates. That also includes rockets, from what I understand. So, how many players are going to be running anti-tank rockets versus a med bag?
All of them. Easy.
Nah, it depends. We don't
Yes.
know. We don't know. It really depends on how gameplay is.
Yeah.
It depends
I
on
mean-
how effective everything is. Like,
I,
you don't
no,
know.
I'm going to bargain 90% of players are using rockets because they can use them in infantry. They can use them at the
Good
abundance
bet.
of tanks that get called
It's a
in.
good bet.
And you're not. Why would you want to throw a health bag for anyone but yourself? And
Yep,
if you
exactly.
can
You don't know
auto-regen
anything
your own
about
health,
healing.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, so as far as like the healing goes, there's a couple of spots in some of the trailers, and there's been some other people who have talked about it in their analysis of stuff that they've seen, that there's what looks like auto regen.
Yes.
There's
Yeah.
doesn't really look like there's anybody around them throwing them anything, or that they're
right.
running over.
But
a
we
med
have that
bag
in
or anything.
BF5 too, so can't jump the gun on that.
Yeah.
But it's partial. It's not full.
Right, and
What
it's
we
also
saw
partial.
was-
No. I think you're talking about the vector clip on the rooftop, right? The guy's got the
No.
vector and he's like regenerating
No,
health.
the
and
one
he,
I'm talking about is the one in the tunnel.
tunnel.
I think it's
Yeah,
the one in
okay.
the tunnel.
Okay,
But
I know the
anyways,
same. Yeah,
so yeah, I think if auto regen, it's full to auto regen, I don't think you're going to be seeing a lot of people really picking up health packs unless they're just super sweaty infantry guys that know that they're going to be in, let's say, a specific cluster of objectives in a sector is going to be in the tunnels, right? So not a whole lot of vehicles are going to be down there for the most part. Yeah, you're going to be having med packs being used, but for
Yeah.
your general, blueberry that's just going to be out there running around, I think Incarnate's kind of right. I think he's going to be leaning back towards that rocket, because I mean, I remember back in like the BC2 days, Carl Gustav for the win. That was my way. I had the best of both worlds. I could use an SMG, and I realized that everybody can use the same primary, but back then I could use an SMG up close and dominate, and then also shoot snipers from a distance with the freaking Carl Gustav. Like, it was amazing. And I think that you're going to kind of have that mentality here as well. Like, hey, I got this explosive, I can go throw it at them sitting over in that bush or over in that building, and
Right.
get some damage on them. But my biggest concern with the whole gadgets, in everything and how it's broken down, is that they're talking about there are going to be 4 categories that these specialists are going to sit in. The ammo and the rockets and the health does not sit you in either of those categories.
right.
So that
right.
kind of makes me scared as to, okay, what makes you a support player now? We already saw one that has a turret, a sentry turret. God, I am not looking forward to playing against that crap.
Another
You
reason
know,
to run rockets.
How
Kill the
many
sentry turret.
exactly. But how many places are we going to be seeing those sentry turrets being put down to where they're clipping into rocks, or they're just in a position where you can't take care of them, but they're going to be able to kill you?
True.
And situations like that.
True.
So my concern is not really necessarily like, are they going to have health and ammo and all that kind of stuff? Because I think that in the end, auto regen will take care of it for the most part. And I play a lot of engineer in Battlefield 4 anyway, so I'm kind of used to not having a med pack around me and just kind of hanging back and letting me regen. But what are these specialists going to have that's going to be affecting your gameplay render that puts you into those particular categories? Because I can see some really, really bad gameplay coming out of that. I can deal with not having the health and ammo from blueberries.
If I can touch on that real quick before we transition. So what terrifies me the most is that justifying this rocket position. You have like Battlefield 4. Most players, in a pub lobby for Conquest, for example, people worth their salt. The people that have brains will take an engineer because they need to deal with the vehicles that are going to farm the rest of their team. They want to be able to deal with the tank that's on the point so they can capture it, whatever. The reason you don't see any other players, the majority of players probably do play engineer, but it's like 51%. Everyone else plays assault, maybe, or you see lesser support or recon because people want to use recon to snipe. People want to use support to be that MG gunner who's milsim in it, laying down with a bipod, right? Shredding enemies, cool. You don't have that in 2042. You can pick your own primary, and then you can pick whatever equipment you want. So now the sniper who decided that, hey, I could use a sniper and a rocket launcher and my grapple, he can do whatever he wants and also get to blow people up. Doesn't matter the primary. Doesn't matter the equipment, and he gets to choose a rocket launcher. I guarantee we're not going to see heals and ammo. It's just because you get to pick your primary. There's no downside to taking a sniper. Plus, you're probably I'm guaranteed there's going to be a sidearm that's automatic, and your rocket launcher to blow up people to get too close, and your grapple or your wingsuit or whatever to get to another place. It's just not going to happen.
Is there anything wrong with that?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah,
I think
Well,
so.
I
no,
think so.
I want to see a healthy
Like,
mix. I want to see.
Yeah, you are. That's what they're doing, right?
No.
You
I-
don't know
I kind
anything,
of
though.
agree.
You're
I don't
just
know.
I kind of
guessing.
agree with Julian on that. Like, so
Ugh.
You don't
right
know all the
now,
equipment. We don't know any all the
yeah,
call-ins. We don't know any of that. There could be options that are so much more enticing, but they got to balance all those different
yeah.
things.
And that's what I don't trust. I don't trust dice to balance
No,
it.
exactly,
I don't trust
But
exactly.
that at all.
also too, like right
The
now, I mean, if you go back
options,
and you play BF4,
the
I mean,
buffet.
you don't expect to get ammo and health. In fact, a lot of times what you do is you wait for that guy to die, pick up his kit, throw it down, and then you pick up your own kit in order
Yep.
to do it. So I already don't expect to have that aspect of the game in the new game, but I do see, if I wanted to be in a super sweaty squad, that there's going to have that med guy, that ammo guy, those people to end up, taking care of that. But if I'm playing, I think this game is not going to lend itself very well to a solo player. I think you're going to want to be in a squad in order to get the best of it, because that's how you're going to be able to coordinate with
Yeah.
having those team play features in it. But I mean, the whole reason as to why they've gone with this specialist idea is so that they can make it more accessible to all these people, because as well
Mhm.
as I do that they're listening to feedback that has come in from their forums, from Reddit. Oh God, Reddit. And they're going, these players are going, hey, I want a rocket, but I don't want to use this gun. Why? Why am I stuck with this? And so DICE is taking that and they're going, hey, one of the things when feedback sessions back in 2018, 2017 was accessibility. I heard that word more times from them than I'd like to admit. And it was absolutely ridiculous. Because basically when I hear developers say accessibility, it means our players are really freaking stupid and they can't ever learn how to play the game. So we got to do this. And
Are
while I
they wrong?
realize
I mean, are
while
they
I
No.
wrong?
realize that there are stupid players
Yeah.
out there, right?
Yes.
Most of them will get how to play the game eventually. Okay. The ones who don't, they go back to Call of Duty.
Okay,
Yeah,
I don't
there's
want
my
to. I don't
dig.
want to. I don't want to draw that
Um,
conclusion though, because I mean, Call of Duty, yes, has some dumb players, but I've seen so many dumb players in Battlefield,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I don't think
I
Call of
agree.
Duty is inherently at least okay.
No, no,
I don't
it's
think
not.
it's
That's just a dig. Come
yeah
on, man.
yeah.
You're taking it too serious. Like, get your
I,
your funny hat back on. Dang.
my hat's over
Ah,
there.
oh my God. Okay, but yeah, I mean, I think I'm not too worried about that part. I'm really not. Now, what would be interesting? Julian actually brought this one up, and I think this kind of works its way into maybe some monetization aspects of it, or how they're going to be structuring it. The grind maybe. Julian, you were talking about kind of like an heirloom idea. Why don't you speak on that one?
Oh yeah. So, every specialist has their own unique specialty item, kind of like where one guy has the drone, or one guy has the um, emplacement sentry gun, right? That's unique to them. Now, what I think they might add is like an Apex heirloom skin to that specific thing. That's one way they can monetize that. I think that would be an interesting idea for that, or just have skins for all that kind of stuff. I was initially thinking the Robo Dogs would be one of the specialists' unique item or tool that they can use, but
No,
that's
the specials
been
would never get picked.
debunked.
Then
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's game
that's
over.
debunked. They're not. They're all call-ins now. But God knows what else is going to be there. I think there's just going to be, like they've been saying, everything's like a bucket now. It's just there's so many options now. There's going to be so many different metas and whatnot. But anyway, yeah, I'm getting off topic. I think that would be an interesting idea when it comes to promoting their seasons. There's new heirloom to your what are these stupid guys' name? What are the special? What's the medic specialist name again?
Medic.
Uh,
Oh
medic,
boy.
whatever. The only medic with the gun, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And it
The
can
minigun.
revive people
Yeah.
from a distance, and it can heal people from a distance, right? They can introduce that same weapon,
Now,
but reskin it and then sell it. I thought that would be an interesting idea they can do, but yeah, that's my only point on that. I was like, yeah, and instead of adding a different unique thing like the grapple hook, they'll just have an heirloom grapple hook. I don't think they'll ever change those things. But the other thing I mentioned was the traits. They said that traits can never be changed, just like the specialist item. What if they in the future they add more traits, so where now you can choose which one you want
Yep.
per guy?
Mm.
That's going to be scary because that's more balance they got to take into on top of everything else they got to balance. Balancing is going to be a huge thing that they need to play test
yeah.
the crap out of.
It almost
to make
it
this
almost
an
becomes
enjoyable.
RTS like to a point.
Right.
You add more and more of these little intricate features, and yeah, it just really becomes a balancing mess.
Well, didn't they have a
Yeah.
trait system in Battlefield 5?
No,
They tried.
Yeah.
It's just inherent.
there
There's
was-
two choices.
Well,
Yeah, there was,
Battlefield 5 had the archetypes in the alpha and like the
Archetypes.
Archetypes.
and they
That's
went
it.
out
Yeah.
the window because Dice or somebody in EA said that new players couldn't comprehend it, so they dumbed it down to combat roles. And I think
Combat role,
archetypes
yeah.
were going to limit you to specific like
But
weapons per class per archetype. So like assault had machine pistols and assault rifles, and only certain weapons were allowed to certain archetypes, and apparently that was too confusing. But
that's
you
kind of
got
the
it.
same idea as the trait system, though. Is that
Right. You had
and if
stuff.
they add more later on, I think it's a really cool. I thought it was a really cool avenue in Battlefield 5 that I wish they would have explored. I think it would be cool in 2042 as well. Yes, it's going to be hard to balance around, but I do think that it would be really neat to be able to have those, different traits. They act differently. Yeah, I have, that medic pistol, but let's somewhat kind of, add on to that or build upon how that works in a way. I think it could be interesting. I mean, that's kind of like what we were talking about, or what we have in our doc here. Is will they, or should they even add it in the future?
Yep.
I mean,
And
guys
so
think
just
it should
moving on
be
a little bit
included?
from that. So we do obviously we're just talking about specialists. So we do know one thing from the that they're going to be broken out of down into the 4 class categories. One thing that did come out of the Q&A was the fact that hey, they've announced 4 so far, but there's going to be 10 total at launch. So there could be more down the road, and that could be another thing that Julian was saying about hey, maybe they add 1 or 2 different traits to these characters. I mean, it's very more that also very likely that they don't add those traits to the characters. They just add traits to whole new characters down the road. So there's a whole lot more diversity as far as the character models running around.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I got a
Huge
question for you
diversity.
guys. I got a question for you guys. Okay. Now, I am not a huge person that likes grinding out levels. I never have. I thought Battlefield 3 was like the perfect blend between grinding for levels and attachments and then not making me do it too much. Um, with these specialists that are coming out, I believe that the first 10 are going to be free. But if they do end up adding more, I would imagine that there's probably going to be some way maybe that they have you unlock them in game. And then on top of that, each specialist is probably going to have some kind of unlocking within itself. Do you guys like the idea of having that kind of progression system, grinding system in your specialists?
Yeah, because I don't care as long as I can use the same weapons I'm going to use in front of every other specialist. I don't think that matters too much to me. I think as long as it's not pay to win, I don't care.
Right. I think cosmetic is okay. Unlock grinding, that kind of stuff. If you have to start grinding, especially to extreme levels for like traits or for the kill streaks of the call-ins or anything like that, that's when it gets bad, I think. When you can't use something immediately to kind of like have fun like with the rest of the people, like say the wingsuit person is level 20, that's already bad enough. But if it's level 20, then you have to do 5-7 challenges after reaching level 20, then you're just making it more and more painful for these people to experience the thing they saw in the trailer. This ties back into like what Gravity and I were talking about with the vehicle spec trees in Battlefield 5. You're just making the barrier of entry for fun harder and harder, right? You're just making it more and more grinding, which is what they want to do, I think, to an extent. This is what COD 4 kicked off, right? Where you have the creator class system and you have to grind all your unlocks to level 55. It's a thing and it keeps people engaged, but at what point do you say it's too much?
Not only that, but it becomes the point where some of the unlocks are critical. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a problem.
Well, okay, so as a barometer for that, is Battlefield 4 too much?
No.
So as long as I mean, so as long as it's a roughly like Battlefield 4, maybe it's built slightly upon it, then that's okay. I thought Battlefield 4 got a bit too monotonous on some of the things.
Yeah, I think like having 3 different red dots, 3 different hollow sites, 3 different,
Yes.
6 times that kind of like double down. So we've seen Call of Duty games that have done that in other titles as well. Where like here's one attachment, and then here's 8 different visual variations that all effectively
Visual
are the same thing.
variations.
Yeah.
But you have to unlock each and every one of them a different way. Or like here's 50 kills, here's 100 kills, here's 150. You can't just.
The thing that annoyed me about the Battlefield 4 one was you can't preview it until you use it. That always annoyed me. Yeah. So you're like, oh, I would like this one, but now I have to go back and change it. So yeah, it's so just another thing about specialties and trait. Obviously, we did mention that the robot dog, aka the ranger, is not a trait or a specialty. It is actually a specialist or just a everybody can use item. The one thing that we didn't mention is the fact that in this Q&A, they made it sound like you are not the person driving it. And there's very careful wording here. It says, once safely on the ground, Ranger will follow and protect you and even put your life above their own. You'll also be able to issue orders, such as scouting a location, and have them return to you and follow you. So it almost sounds like you could take control of them, but they will also have an AI version which will follow you around. And that could get scary if you're, in an infantry engagement. Hey, somebody comes around with their pet dog that also auto shoots you while they're shooting at you. So that could be an interesting mechanic.
I'm trying to figure out how much armor this robot dog will have. Can you destroy it with one mag?
God, I hope so.
We don't know.
Then it'll be crap,
I hope,
right?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah. And then I guess that's something that does.
You gotta balance it.
Yeah,
there you go again.
Yeah.
Well, so my biggest concern
sounds fun though.
My biggest concern with something
it,
like
you're
that
not.
is that they did state that there was a limit on how many of those can be in the game
That's right.
at one or in the server at one time. So you run into a situation as to that's kind of an advantage that somebody gets that you don't. Like what qualifies them to call it in the first place? And why, how is it going to be fair if all of a sudden there's a cap? I want to call in my ranger guy. I can't because somebody else has got him. I mean, is there going to be a timeout on it? That type of stuff. So that does kind of worry me a little bit.
Also, I'm hoping for that not the cap zone, the like a sector limit, right?
Yeah.
If you have 5 guys in a squad who all decide to call in their robo dogs each, all of a sudden you got 5 robo dogs and their 5 squad members walking around a corner. You don't have a chance there. I mean, you didn't have a chance in the first place. So there's 5 guys walking around a corner. You're gonna get gunned down. But then 5 dogs on top of that. Oh boy.
I actually just can't wait for the for the glitches and the bugs of the movement of these things. If they're AI controlled, that's
some of the turrets. The dogs are
back of a car and just keep on like in place.
What if the dog runs into you? Like you gonna get trampled?
Could you imagine if it did team damage? Yeah.
Like, the dog just ran. He didn't shoot at me. He just ran and hit me.
What happens if I'm driving a tank and I hit a dog crossing the road? Does it kill the dog? Does it make the tank stop? Or does it have some weird battlefield physics thing where the tank just goes flying? I don't know.
Check this out. One little thing real quick. Okay, the tornado, right? Now, what if you got a ranger goes into the tornado, right? Gets sucked in because everything gets sucked in, right? And starts running in the tornado and like starts shooting people on the tornado. Gets flinged across the whole damn map and then lands on somebody. And they get the cool ass triple kill right there, huh?
Yeah, the AI bot. Yeah, the AI bot. Well, that's another thing. If the AI bots
with C5 on it,
let's not even talk about the ranger dogs. Let's just talk about bots. If the bots get picked up, do they auto aim and can they like shoot you while you're in the tornado?
Oh, who knows?
We'll see. Yeah.
Throw a grenade in there, see what happens.
So
yeah.
I see rage quitting in my future.
Oh yeah, totally. He's gonna have like a difficulty of like a veteran bot and then like a basic bot, and you're not gonna know who's what until it kills you.
Well, this is the sandbox they want to create.
Since we're talking about bots, let's move on to that topic. So obviously there are bots in the game, and this is a huge new feature of the game. The bots are in all 3 sections of the game: multiplayer, co-op, and single player. So if you want to do like a solo play, you can do play against AI soldiers. These can be turned off, or not. They cannot be turned off for the servers. So that is the big thing. You will be forced to play against bots. almost no matter what you're doing in Battlefield 2042. At least in this big 128 player game mode so far that we know of. How do you guys feel about the bots? Do you think it matters for multiplayer? Let's start with Brett.
Okay. We're starting with me.
Wake
So
up.
I
Wake
okay,
up.
so I absolutely do not like the idea of AI bots. I've never liked the idea of AI bots. I got a couple of reasons, but biggest one for me is it is absolutely frustrating when I'm in a fight with another actual player and all of a sudden an AI bot has one, bullet of damage in me and I lose that fight because of it. Pisses me off to no end. I absolutely hate it. So I don't want to see AI at all. If there is going to be AI, which there obviously is, I hope that they have the behavior in such a way to where I, maybe not avoid players altogether, but be in positions and move themselves to positions where they're going to be in areas less likely to encounter those players, because they should not be involved in a big player on player fight. Never. It should never happen. Like the
So
way
so
they
what
type.
what you're saying, Brett, is they should play for the flags because no players because actual
Exactly.
players aren't going to be on flags, right?
I think they're the ones that need to have the ammo and the health and playing on the objectives, and then all of a sudden they'll stay out of our way, and it'll be a much better game because of it. But I mean, it just to me it just doesn't. It's the fun factor is not there, especially when you're sitting there and you kill a bot. It's just like, okay, it's a bot. Like I have no satisfaction from it whatsoever. But if I kill Incarnate, then I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna take a picture and show mom because I just killed Incarnate. I have that kind of feeling of I just beat somebody, right? I'm better than somebody out there. It's not just a computer program that's pre-designated to do. I mean, that's why single player games are kind of like meh to me. It's
Yeah.
just so I don't like it for that reason. Another reason I don't like AI in the game, one of the issues with Battlefield 5, and I know just about everybody's experienced it at least once, is when I go in through quick matchmaking back before like the server browser thing was really any good. Um, it would seed me into an empty server, like 10 people maybe in it, right? Well, now they're saying, oh, we're going to have AI that's going to be seeding in there with you. And then as soon as a person, how many servers am I going to be seeded into where it's going to be 120 AI and then a few players? And how long do I have to play with those AI before I get a true player versus player experience? I don't want that.
Yeah, they mentioned there's a cap of the amount of AI that will be in the server. Okay. It's do you have that Gravity, the article where it states the cap of AI per server?
I want to say it's
Uh,
like 64 or something.
It
like
says
it's
in
like a
general
half number.
you will not experience more AI soldiers than players unless the match is filling up or almost empty. So as an example, if there's 128 now, that doesn't show exactly how much.
Okay, so if we just take the idea that at least 65 individuals in the server are going to be players, because it just said no, not more than players that can be in the server. That's still a possibility of you running into 31 other AI individuals in the game. I don't like that idea. I don't like because that's potentially like a whole sector that you're just playing against
yep.
AI. That to me is not fun. That's not interesting. And if you make the AI interesting, I didn't say fun, but interesting, then you basically give them, auto hacks, right? Auto aim hacks. I mean, they're
Yeah.
just it's going to be
Yeah.
ridiculous to play
Yeah.
against. So,
At what point do AI become too strong or too
exactly.
ridiculous? Do they? Yeah. You either have them be dumb as a
Yeah.
box of rocks like BF Vietnam and BF 1942 AI, or you have them be, auto aimers, or have it rant, an RNG system where the amount of bullets they hit, it'll be
Here's the
different.
thing. Here's the thing. AI bots are not going to be a thing for conquest and breakthrough. Not for the at least the first, I would say, month. You're not going to see a single one. There,
Just give it
everything's
a
going to
month
be
and then the
full.
game's gonna fall off a cliff.
Right, and then people just it happens quick. Even Battlefield 5 too. Like you'll get 40v40 or something like that, or it'll be 20v20, and then you'll start seeing bots coming on in. But that's the thing. I put a tweet out saying I don't think for me if I see 30% are bots in my server, I'm gonna leave. That doesn't sound fun to me at all. I'm gonna go to another server that actually has people on it, right? And then I make the argument is like, okay, well, yeah, that's great for filling up servers in areas across the world that don't have that many or don't have a huge player base. You actually gonna go play with them? Is that gonna fix your issue?
Well,
No.
follow up to that. This brings us to another question of if you really are stuck in a situation where you need to play only with bots, should killing bots, affect your stats if you get killed by bots? If you do some crazy kill streaks, should that affect your stats at all, or should it stay player v player?
I think they need to do it like they did Respawn in Titanfall 2, Titanfall 1, right? Where the bots kind of like maybe count towards your ultimate cooldown. And obviously there's no ultimates here, but the same kind of idea. Maybe you get like a fraction of the points that killing a
Fractured
player would.
points.
Well, I'm just talking about like your overall stat page in general,
Right,
not
that's what I'm
like
saying.
your in-game page.
Right. So I mean, like Titanfall 2 has that same thing where it's like bots killed, AI killed, and then they have like an actual KD player ratio.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing there. So there's a
no.
Yeah, obviously, I feel like there's a hard no for your
there's a good way of integrating bots into a multiplayer system, and I don't know if DICE. I hope they reference Respawn, they talk with Respawn because they're close. They have Ripple Effect right next to Respawn Studios. I don't know how close they are relatively, like distance wise, but they have the resources there to make a good bot component of this game. I'm not totally against bots personally, but I am like Brett. I have some fears. I also am not like 128 players is a lot of players in a server. Obviously, I don't think every game is going to have 128 players. So having a couple bots that fill in, but it's when it's noticeable when your 64 players are bots. That's when it's bad. That's when you don't want to be there. 30% of your game is bots. I would leave too. I mean, you don't want that. You want the satisfaction of killing another player. You want the satisfaction of playing the game as it's intended, right? Bots is not that. Well, I guess bots are the way that they intend for you to play it now, but not at its highest level. Not at its peak. It's supposed to be 128 real players. 128 bots.
Right. And it's different from how Star Wars did it. You always have a set amount of bots in Battlefront 2 from what I learned. And in Apex, I don't know, but I think there's just always going to be bots there no matter what. 2042 is totally different from that. It's just those bots are used to fill up servers, and then once a real player comes in, that guy gets yeeted off the server. And I just don't think it'll be a huge issue for now. But there's one point, but until later when the player base starts dying off, then it'll be a huge issue. That's when RSP needs to be there to counteract that crap. Anyway,
counterpoint, it needs to be there day one.
I have an argument against that, but I would not be mad about it. It's just let me just tackle that issue real quick. My point is where if you look at every other Battlefield other than the other one like Battlefield 4, they didn't have RSP, right? And that's a specific marketing tool, I think, to curtail how you want your player base to play the game you made. Because if you have RSP on day one, veterans are going to make their own servers and they're going to curtail how they want to play, right? But when you got new players coming in and there's 24/7, like I don't know, what's the new maps?
24/7 Operation Metro, no explosives, no shotguns.
Exactly. Yeah. DICE is going to go like, what the? And they're everywhere, right? And new players are going to be confused. So that's why I think it's probably not a good idea to do it at first, but to have it planned and it has to come out, I would say like within the next 3 months after launch would be good.
Private RSP.
I made
That's
the
first day one thing.
I made
the
argument a long time ago in a video about how if you're going to implement private servers day one, there needs to be tiers to whether or not you make them. Say if you're going to make them a private server and make it ranked, it must come with this DICE standard of requirements that you need on your server. So you couldn't have rules like, hey, no explosives, or you must follow this type of DICE gameplay procedure. Yes, there's an official room. Whereas if you were going to put it unranked, hey, all the comp players can still play comp. You can do 8v8 and 5v5 and whatnot and tinker with the server the way you want, but it's all unranked. That's how it should be. So there's this standard of effective, private server. That's how it should be, I think.
So, this is, talking servers a little bit off topic, but I will add this.
Yeah, what were we
Uh,
talking about there? I
back-
forgot then.
talking about AI
Bots, yeah.
The bots,
But,
yeah.
back in Battlefield 5, when they were talking about building the server program, and again, they don't like the whole RSP thing because they're like, we're not renting anymore. Anyways, the server creation part of it. One of the things that they told us at those feedback sessions and at the release event that they did was the the server infrastructure that they're building for Battlefield 5 was supposed to be built in such a way that it was going to be able to exist in multiple games. Like they were going to be able to, instead of rebuilding it every single game, they were going to be able to take that same structure and just move it to the next game. If that is the case, then I think what we see in terms of options and settings and tools that we have to moderate those servers and control them is probably going to be what we have in the next game. I don't see them changing a whole lot more than what's already there.
So adding on top
for
of
it.
what you get in the community games, more or less.
Yes.
Okay.
Basically.
like
That'd
Brett
be
said, I
disappointing.
wouldn't see any. I wouldn't see anything more than that. I
Yeah,
think
I
they
would
put
say
a
that
bare
was
minimum a year and a half after the game came out.
Yeah.
That's what they're going to roll with from here on out. Probably, I would be hard
Yeah.
pressed to see anything else.
yeah.
That sucks.
So
And you got to remember the
I
big
mean-
thing. You have to remember though, the big thing about private servers that we need to remember the most is private servers have admins and moderators that are there far more the majority of the time versus a DICE official server where there can be cheaters run amok all the time, like there are in BF5 and BF, especially early BF1, where they can be dealt with quickly.
That is a double-edged sword.
I mean,
You will
true,
get-
there are abusive admins, but I will
Yes,
happily
exactly.
take an abusive admin on one server or two servers versus the majority of them versus having to go through server versus server and finding a cheater in almost every single one.
Right, but this doubles back to what Julian was saying about having this unified experience, right? And that's what they wanted with Battlefield 1. That's what they continue with Battlefield 5. That's why they got rid of RSP and why they continue to house servers internally instead of going to people like our sponsor for Level, Fragnet. And it stopped after Battlefield 4 and Hardline because they don't want people to get their first game into the or first match into the game and be stuck on a 24/7 operation server because they got quick played into a official server, right? But it's not, it's just official settings. And then all of a sudden these people are having a bad time because they don't know the rules, they don't know the server never switches maps, and they don't get to have any real Battlefield fun. That's what they're controlling. I'm not saying it's the right thing for them to do, but I understand the rationale behind it. And that's probably why we won't see, publicly administered by player servers anymore.
Yeah, it's going away. It's all about control.
Yeah.
They want to be able to control the experience from day one, and that's never gonna go away.
Yeah.
As long as we get private servers, unlisted, private, you do whatever you want servers, I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
You
I
don't have to be
think I
forced
would
to.
settle easily for that. As long
Yep,
as I get
yes.
that early on, not like, not a year later, as long as I
Right.
get an unranked or an unranked passworded server within the first month or two of the game, I'll settle.
You're
Yes.
bargaining from day one to month or two. Come
Yeah,
on. Hold
but
your ground.
day
Hold your
one is good, but I'm bargaining here. Yeah, as long as I get it early on, I'll relax and I'll see the topic. But
They should talk about it. It should be on a roadmap. It should be a thing.
not
They
even a
They're never
roadmap.
gonna put anything on
They
a
won't.
roadmap ever again.
Oh, no,
After
they
what
won't
we
do that
just
either.
had with
Watch.
Battlefield
Not with
5,
BF5, no.
Yeah.
No.
What roadmap?
I bet you
We
they're
don't
going to have an
roadmap.
extensive. I
Yeah.
bet you they're going to have an extensive roadmap, especially with their seasons, because it seems like they planned the shit out of their first year.
I think
But
the only thing
I don't
that's
know.
gonna be there is
It's a bad bet, but
cosmetics. I don't think any gameplay features, or like massive updates to the game like a server browser or a private server system.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is never going to be on a timeline again because
They won't give specific
screwed
dates. They won't give
themselves bad with
timeline.
Battlefield 5.
Yeah, it's
I
think
I
as long
had
as the
I had
season-
several conversations with community community managers, and they were just like, "Oh God, this is bad. This is real bad." But because they had to deal with all the shit. But I mean, we're kind of talking about. By the way, guys, we have a list here, and we're in our kind of the miscellaneous section, so that's what I'm going off of. But anyways, we're kind of in it right now already, but we're talking about seeding servers. We're talking about having servers. What about the possibility of the ranking mode, score-based matchmaking, that type of thing
Skill based?
that's going to be coming in? So, skill-based matchmaking. So, They implemented it in Battlefield 5, if I'm not mistaken, like some kind of score-based or skill-based matchmaking.
They
towards the end
tried
of the
it.
Tried
game.
it. Tried.
I
Yeah.
They
think
tried it on
yeah.
Breakthrough, and it
Yeah,
would
so-
like balance you between servers at the end of the round,
Yes.
and
It was
nobody liked
so
that because
bad.
it was jarring. Yeah.
Then they gave up.
Yeah.
They gave up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great.
they just stopped.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're thinking about doing this.
Yeah.
And you see community managers tweet out some stuff. We're working on this, and then it never happened.
Yeah.
And then they can't.
But
Then they
the
canceled
community
the game.
feedback was so toxic and so severe. Just another knee-jerk Battlefield reaction. Classic for the community.
Here's the thing about skill-based matchmaking in Battlefield. If it's going to happen, it should never happen in a game mode with more than 8 or 10 players. Ever. Because the whole point of Battlefield is you get the whole giant chaos. You can do what you want. You can farm players. You can go into, you can go against, you go into 64 or 128 man server. You can do what you want. You're either really good or you're really bad, and you either have a good time or you have a bad time. It's a total sandbox. That's the point. But there is an itch to scratch of, hey, there are sometimes some people that want to do a competitive mode and say, if you want to throw a 5v5 mode in there where it's skill-based matchmaking, fine. But that is literally the epitome of the line you should cross with a Battlefield skill-based matchmaking, because nobody else is going to want to do it.
I'm okay with it, honestly. I Battlefield 5 has the issue where they balance the teams before the next round starts and before people know what map they're playing. So then, it goes from, I don't know, Operation Metro or Underground to Hamada. And all of a sudden people are like, oh, I was this infantry playing and I got to go to this big open desert. I don't want to play this. So they load into the map, realize they don't like the map, and they leave. That really stinks. So what they need to do is have the balancing occur as soon as the map, loads into it. And there's a quick, exchange, but you keep everything, like you keep your squad together. If you have people on your friends list, you try to keep your friends list together. There's 128 players, plenty of room to do that. And then you also try to, obviously you need to keep skills close, and there's going to be Battlefield 4 has a skill balancing system. It balances you based on skill.
This is a can of worms.
We're right, and that's exactly the point here. Is you can do it to a small amount, kind of balancing based off general skill number, whatever they try to determine that to be. But obviously, if you balance off infantry skill, and the person's a tank player who likes vehicles or helicopters, or whatever, and then you put all these helicopter high score skill people over there, you only have 2 helicopters on the map. Suddenly, your balancing is out the window because you balanced for skill, but you didn't account for what gave those people that skill number. I think there is a place for it to try to balance teams out, but it's got to be a light touch, and it has to be something that you do at the beginning of the round before anyone notices, and you don't auto balance people mid round. You just bite the bullet if the game goes haywire and people are unbalanced.
Well,
that's just how it goes.
One, they need a team balancer that pulls for individual people first, not people from squads. So if you're in a squad, you're with your friends, you don't get split that up and piss people off. You need to balance them, like you said, after the round starts. You need a team switch button. Dice. The hell happened with that in BF5?
That's never coming back.
Oh my god. So if there are legitimately good mannered and decent players who want to switch teams and fill out a 32v10 server, whatever.
I think you should be able to switch to the losing team, but not to the winning team.
Yeah.
And they had limits like that in BF1.
Yeah. But whatever. But I don't know what the hell happened with BF5. And more importantly, the problem with a team balancer in any battlefield with more than 30 players is you're still going to have people doing whatever the hell they want. It doesn't matter if the skills, if you have two teams of 140 in BF4, down the roster, one team can still get its ass kicked, 1,000 tickets to none. I mean, and then people are going to complain, oh, a team is stacked. It's irrelevant. I
love seeing that 5 minutes into a BF4 round and someone's complaining, team stacked, and it's there's 3 people that have the same name.
Right? So what?
Relax, bro.
And then there's the topic of stacking. What constitutes a stack? Is it a 30-man AOD stack in BF5, or is it two? Is it two?
It's a 4-man squad.
Is it two great comp players that dominate a server? I mean,
yes, but we're forgetting that the game modes are different now. Conquest is different. Unless you're on older gen. It's 120 players now. Things are different.
Not only that, but there's more people. I think with more people, the less impact a single player will have. I think that's really noticeable. If you guys played back in BC2 when you had like the smaller like squad, not squad, but it's like it went from or was it BF3 that I'm thinking of? Where I think it was Rush was 32 and then you went to Conquest 64.
Mhm.
You could see a major impact that one or two players could have in Rush. They could absolutely dominate the entire map. Then when we went to 64 player, they could still have a huge impact, but they weren't dominating the servers anymore. And when
Well,
we
and
go
that's
to, I
another
think
thing.
128,
Yeah.
it's going to be the same thing. I think that those one or two, you're not going to have, I think, that big of an issue with it. But yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to stack anyways, because I don't think there's been any mention of a server browser, the only squads. And I
Yeah.
think that the only way you're going to be able to do this is by joining in squads anywho's. But
I mean, I
so
can
that
join off my friends list
actually,
though.
so
Right.
next thing here. All right. So I do want to talk about this because we've had a couple of people in chat mention this before. Crossplay. So, and this kind of also harkens back to the AI side of things. Crossplay, I think, is absolutely wonderful in the sense that it means that we will have more actual live players to be able to fill servers. So I think that's one of the reasons why they're okay with having bots not being turned off, because they are going to be allowing console players to now play with PC players, which I believe we talked earlier is something that can be opt out of if you are on the next gen, current gen, whatever you want to call it,
And PC.
not on, yeah, and PC, not on the PS4, Xbox, whatever it is. But so at the very least, if you do opt in for those, then I would think ideally that you would deal with more full servers than you typically would if you didn't. Plus, I just like the fact that as a community, especially if we do get access to some kind of a private server or server creation, private lobby system, the ability to have a, let's say, a level BF 64 versus 64 community event, a true community event to where we have PlayStation 4, or not PlayStation 4, but PlayStation, Xbox, and PC players all able to play in the same server at the same time. Like that right there, just it opens up a lot of possibilities. It also opens up a lot of possibilities for the competitive scene as well. Think about now, if you have an
Yeah.
AV8 Cup that's going to be going on, you don't have to rely on just one platform to be able to do that. You can have all platforms join. And I do realize that there's going to be a lot of people sitting there saying PC players beat the shit out of console players. From my experience right now, casting Call of Duty, I see PC players and console players playing together. I did cast a Cup, this is about 2 months ago or so, to where they actually did allow mouse and keyboard. It was a like a mix, and actually the team who won were all console controller players.
Aimsys is strong
I
nowadays.
think the biggest
Aimsys is
problem, the
strong.
biggest hesitation that any PC player will ever have with the console players is Dice going to throw some sort of aim assist in? And if so, how strong is it? And I think that is the biggest up in the air question about how this is going to work. Because quite frankly, any game that tries to incorporate crossplay has tried to add it to some degree, and I don't think it's been a great success. Pretty much in any game, unless you want to possibly, with your experience of Call of Duty, maybe want to consider that maybe a success.
Right,
What's
I
the trend?
understand.
Hmm.
Well, I
What's the
mean,
trend?
I see everybody saying aim assist in chat over here, but I mean, you still have like in Warzone, for instance, your top players are still PC players. I mean, they have aim assist in there.
I don't know about that one. Have you seen a lot of the top
On
streamers?
controllers.
They're PS5, yeah, and
The
they're
ones I've
PS5
been
players.
the tournaments that I've been watching have been a lot of PC players. So
Okay, I'm going off of like Twitch tournaments that I see, and it's a lot of
okay.
like PS5 players.
But is it M&K, mouse and keyboard?
No, like they're using controller. They got sticks. They set it to like one of these sticky aim settings for their auto aim assist, and they're just nutty, dude. I mean, it's insane how good aim assist is. Like I will complain about it all day if I can, but I also realize how good mouse and keyboard can be if you have actual
Yeah.
aim, right? If you have a
If
brain, you
I
can click
Yeah.
on head.
And Julian,
know.
what are your thoughts on this?
if I were to make a bet, it will be worse than Warzone. I think the aim assist will be even stronger than Warzone, no doubt. And I think there'll be multiple settings as well for
Mhm.
controllers. That is a huge aim assist is a huge market seller right there. If you make people that are just not kind of average, and then they're gods now, like, and they're getting kills at least a little bit more than they would if they didn't have it. That's a good thing. That keeps them in there. It keeps them engaged. It keeps them trying to get better, right? But it's artificial, right? It's a soft lock or something, or they have a snap aim already in Battlefield 5, which is I don't even want to talk about that game. Anyway, but yeah, I think it's gonna be worse. That would be my bet if I were to do that. But if they were actually listening to people, um, both in the Call of Duty and here in Battlefield, I think they might just tame it down a little bit. But I don't trust DICE at all to do that,
So
or
another
EA to do any
thing
of that.
going off of that for Battlefield 5 at least, controllers, and I don't know if they have it still, but for at least up until like update 6.2, controllers had less recoil in Battlefield 5 compared to mouse and keyboard.
That's
That makes some
correct. Yeah.
sense.
I mean,
As it's easier to compensate. Yeah, yeah. I looked at the
you
multiplier.
proved that.
It's like 0.75 or
Yeah.
something. That's another way to do that. I don't think that's the right way to do it. I think there's many things the community is like over debate on of like, is suppression okay? Is bullet spread okay? Is do you do recoil patterns or recoil trends? All these things. But at the end of the day, you need to have some kind of parity between these two, like analog stick and clicky with a mouse on head. And there's other ways of doing that too. Like Halo used to do bullet magnetism. They still kind of do. You can miss the target and it'll curve the bullet into their head. There's actual like documented stuff with that Halo 4, Halo 5. There are ways around making stuff work. It's kind of where you draw the line there of what's acceptable, right? And a lot of people are mad about magnetism in Halo. A lot of people are mad about aim assist now. It's trying to find that balance, and I don't know if you can really have that balance to a good degree when you're dealing with huge maps like this, where
Okay,
you're
but to that point right there, I mean, does that kind of meticulous balance matter when you have 128 players in the server?
I'll be right back. Hold on 1 second.
I
Sorry.
mean,
Uh,
that's kind of like, because I mean, what was the ground war? Ground war. I've played a lot of ground war, and for those of you who don't know, I ended up messing up my wrist a few months ago, so I actually been playing on controller up until very recently. I switched back over to mouse and keyboard. I played ground war with controller and mouse and keyboard, and I could definitely see a difference. But after a while, when I started getting better with the controller, I wasn't topping charts, but I was definitely hanging in there with a lot of the players that were on mouse and keyboard. I did feel that aim assist had a part to play, but I still had to shoot straight. I mean, it wasn't like it just did it for me. Um, so I mean, and in that respect, even when I went back to mouse and keyboard, and I knew because I actually experienced that from a controller standpoint, it still didn't hurt my experience. Like it still didn't really piss me off in a lot of those instances. So in a game where you're talking about 128 players, like, is it really going to be that? Now, when we're talking about maybe the what does they call it, the hazard zone?
Hazard mode, yeah.
Yeah. Now that one I could totally see to where, yeah, you would want to make sure, because that's going to be super. That sounds like it's going to be super sweaty.
Yes.
we don't know anything about it, but yeah, it could be.
It sounds like
Squad
Well, I mean, when
base.
you're talking about a squad only type mode, I mean, generally it's going to be a fairly sweaty an environment for
Yeah.
it, but
I would think so,
because you're
yeah.
expecting players to
Yeah.
play together that know each other, that are going to be communicating with each other.
So you want to build a different system for the different gameplay experiences,
No, I don't. I'm just saying that.
or you want to keep it uniform?
No, what I'm saying is that the aim assist, I don't think it doesn't need to be super strong, and I don't think it needs to be completely gone. I think there is a realm where it can exist, and it can still be okay with PC players and vice versa. I do think though that when you start looking at modes that are geared more towards a focused squad or a smaller player count, so 4-man squads, or 8v8, 12v12. Now I would imagine like a 16 versus 16, if there's going to be a small mode like that for there and there. But something like that, then you need to make sure that maybe there is not an option for crossplay in a public setting, that it's only with PC players or only with console players. But when you move over to that Conquest or Breakthrough and it goes to 128 player, then you have that option of crossplay.
I mean, choices are good.
Yeah.
options are good. And are they going to have a back end where they can change things on the fly? It seems like they struggled to do that in Battlefield 5. Just
Oh
from
yeah,
a UI just from a UI. It's
yeah.
like, oh, we couldn't add in different playlists because the UI wouldn't let us,
Yeah.
or we didn't have the tech.
We couldn't
Like that happened.
like
That
they
happened.
couldn't add more game modes because it had a maximum lock on how much, and you couldn't go in and change
Yep.
it. Oh my god.
Yep.
They gotta make sure their system that they built in the last 3 to 4 years is uh has more room to add player feedback to change features they have on there. I just hope they're not plagued by simple crap like company coin a curl that troubled them for 3 months, according to them, or delay a map for 3 months because of some sort of visual bug or something that
Mm-hmm.
I don't quite believe that. But yeah, there's just so many things that this game cannot be plagued by in the first few months. They really need to work on. I know that I'm getting a little off topic here, but I just wanted to put this out now that we're getting to the 2 hour mark. I think server stability when it comes to crossplay is going to be huge, and they got to nail it at the beginning,
100%.
or it's going to be complete garbage. The next thing, forget the older consoles too; those don't exist to me. But the performance, all right, that needs to be squashed quickly. All right, within at least, I don't know. I really think it's not going to run well. There's a lot
Yeah.
of issues in the real world where people just can't get the technology to play this bold Battlefield game with tornadoes that may crash the entire server. I don't want another Battlefield 4 is what I'm trying to say.
Well,
And
talking about like tornadoes and stuff, destruction and dynamic weather.
Yep. Let's talk about that.
You know,
sure,
so
let's do
I'm
that. Yeah.
talking about those events happening. I mean, since we're on the subject of servers, uh, we had that issue in Battlefield 4 where the Siege of Shanghai Tower come down, crash the server, or just
Yeah.
be horrible.
Or the dust on it would completely drop frames and cause stuttering.
Yeah, yeah. So, hopefully, if they're going to be having something like that, that they have figured out a way to have some kind of optimization in it. I would imagine that they would.
We don't even know if it's a new Frostbite.
No, we don't.
Apparently, they have new Frostbite technology, but they never officially said like this is Frostbite 4.
Well, the thing that always confused me was there was a tweet a long time ago from one of the devs for Battlefield 5 when we were talking about Panzerstorm, specifically in BF5, and we asked why specifically there wasn't any crazy amount of, like, why was there a limit of like 5 or 6 tanks per team? Like, why wasn't it more? Why wasn't there a map that was bigger that had like 10 tanks per team? If you were gonna make a map called Panzerstorm, and he said something like, the engine that we run on can only place a certain number of vehicles in the game maps. Otherwise, the servers go crazy. Well, if that's BF5 and it's the same engine, again, there has to be some major upgrades if you're going to start throwing a ton of tanks and 128 players in, and that scares me to think that maybe there's a bunch of glitches and hangovers left over from that.
I'm fairly confident it's a new version of the engine. There's a lot more technology that they are using for the new consoles, and they're taking advantage of it. But like I said, Battlefield 5 exists. It was a game. Well, maybe not really a game, but they need to really bring it and have some sort of stable launch, because I think the first stable launch I think they've ever had was Battlefield Hardline, and that was because of the Dice LA people that really fixed up the code for Battlefield 4 and or now Ripple Effect. So are they going to have a stable launch now that they might be on a new engine? I guess we'll find out. I just don't know much. It's hard to figure out. But if I were to make a guess, I don't think the performance will be any good. And we might have another cyberpunk moment for the old gen people over there. I would not recommend ever buying Battlefield 2042 on old gen. Good luck, have fun.
I mean, we don't even have the PC requirements or anything near talked about. Yeah, we don't have a clue. All I know is it's probably going to be a lot. It's going to be some serious hardware, considering the way that BF5 run, which is always fun. Commit to me, considering that BF1 and BF5 essentially run on the same engine, and BF1 runs like a dream compared to BF5. It's always strange, yeah. So let's continue talking about the Levolution and Destruction. So obviously we've got these Levolutions and crazy weather effects, and as far as I'm aware, was this confirmed that essentially one of those tornadoes is coming in on every single one of those 7 maps?
The
chance for it, yes, the chance for it was yeah. Okay, so it was on every map.
It would happen every time, but the chance for it to happen every time, or for it to happen, period, is there.
So
on every map.
Yes.
On every map.
On each of the 7. Now, what we heard from the internal playtesters is that there was an article saying that it is a fun gimmick the first couple times, but then it gets really old really fast.
Yeah.
To the surprise of, I believe, no one. And I think we can all echo that assumption that that's exactly how it's going to go.
It's just a gimmick.
My personal opinion is that there should be absolutely no effects whatsoever. I want to play a map from start to finish the way it's supposed to be, and even to an extent, I don't like. So, the way destruction was done in Battlefield 3, I think is the way I would like to see destruction being done for the rest of the battlefields, where there were ways that you could, chip off buildings and get kills and do kind of fun stuff like that. And it was dynamic in that sense.
But not the debris either.
But not to the point to where there was absolutely no cover or no concealment whatsoever that you could use. I was playing, what was it? I think it was Operation Mortar the other day on Battlefield 4. And there was one of the flags where absolutely everything was just leveled. And it wasn't a fun experience. It absolutely wasn't a fun experience. So I hope they don't go too crazy with it, and they're just like, okay, well, we're gonna have you level everything. And I think in one of their videos that they were talking about, I think they actually mentioned that like a full town can be destroyed.
Yeah,
and I'm really, really hoping that like there's gonna be some kind of skeleton remnants that we can use to make sure that we're not just like it's flat. Tanks are just basically going to be able to snipe us from all the distances. And
I don't know if I missed this or not, but y'all talk about like fortifications and that kind of stuff coming back to 2042.
Has that been confirmed?
No, I'm just speculating.
No, it has not. To my knowledge, it has not. Yeah.
I thought there was a toolbox that maybe somebody saw on like one of the UI elements, but I don't know for sure. But obviously, if you're destroying stuff, that has been their past solution to destroying stuff is to fix it, right? But I don't think that really functions too well in BF5.
The one thing
especially not when half of it isn't built before the round loads in, and you just have no cover, and you have to make it yourself. That's just a painful experience.
Yeah, that's just one of those.
Snowman.
Yeah, that's just one of those features in BF5 that really didn't work well because it took too much time away from the battlefield of doing things, and 2, it was pointless to do most of it anyway. I mean, like, nobody cared that, like, a wall was built. You either just jumped right over it. I mean, nobody really, or blew through it.
Just blew it up.
Yeah.
They knew it was a bad idea because later on down the line, they just had pre-built things.
Yeah.
Especially when they had the new game modes.
And
everything was pre-built now. It's like, oh, wow.
And it added so much time to the duration that it took to create maps because the developer had to go in and put in every single one of those sections of fortifications that the people could play or could build. And like, no, nobody cared. That's why why Al Marj was so good because it didn't have any of that. Like, nobody cared.
Right.
Yeah.
It was just a genuine map.
Yeah.
I don't think that I don't know. I don't think that fortifications are going to be coming back like they were in Battlefield 5. I do remember that there was a specialist in there that had a buildable cover, like a portable cover that he had. Able to set out. It was like the Rainbow Six Siege thing, where he like the metal thing. So that probably is going to be taking the place of like, hey, build a wall here or something,
And I believe commanders were also confirmed not to be in the game.
Oh, really?
I believe I read somewhere that the commanders were confirmed.
Well, the Oscar Gabrielson was talking about how he wanted it. He was wishing that it would come back in some form, the tablet commander.
He said maybe
that's where that came from, but right now there's no. They didn't say anything about if it will be in there or if it won't be in there.
Okay.
We don't know yet. We could talk about Commander if you want, but
I
feel like
no, I don't think there's a point.
another day.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So let's talk about other features about the game. So cross progression is another thing that could come up with crossplay. Carrying your stats from PC to console or vice versa. I believe are we all in favor of this? Pretty much. This is the thing that yeah.
If you buy more than 2 copies, I don't know why you would, but maybe you have your gaming PC and you take your Xbox with you on like vacation or something. Sure.
Hey, there's a lot of players that played on console first and moved to PC.
Oh, sure. But,
and not only that, but I'm really interested to see the link between Microsoft and Xbox, the PC and the Xbox side of things, because you're seeing that kind of ecosystem to where, you know, the same games are going to be coming out that are Xbox exclusives are now going to be on PC as well. And they were talking about, you know, being able to transfer, you know, characters over from each of the games. So you can play on both of them without have to actually buying a new game on each of them. Now that's not related to Battlefield as far as I know, but that I have heard Microsoft developers talk about that regarding the Xbox app and what's going to be coming out for it. So it would not surprise me if that was something that could possibly be a thing to where, okay, well, you know, if Microsoft is wanting this, and this is a Microsoft, like, not sponsored game, but, you know, Microsoft has bought you know how every game has like PlayStation is their like big thing, or Xbox is their big thing. Like, you know what I'm talking about? So like Call of Duty, PlayStation pretty much owns Call of Duty and all.
Oh, like the exclusive types things?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Xbox has like the exclusive for Battlefield right now. So it would not surprise me if they had been working together to try and have some kind of cross, you know, progression system between their PC and their Xbox systems to do that. And then they were like, well, hell, if we're going to be talking about this for this, we're going to have to do it for PlayStation as well.
Yeah, that would be bad if they didn't. But yeah, they would. I don't like PlayStation, to be honest, because they're dumb exclusives. Oh man, I'm missing out on so many great games too. But hopefully they'll do the Horizon Zero Dawn kind of thing and port it on over. Everything should be on PC. I keep saying this, but yeah, it's definitely an issue you would have to look at here.
All right. Well, it looks like we have about 2 topics I believe we should probably touch on first before we end our discussion here, as we're starting to come up towards the end. The plus system we did not mention as far as infantry and main gameplay. The plus system, of course, being the in-game customize your weapon on the fly mechanic, where it's very, if you've ever played Crisis, it's essentially that. Do we have any thoughts on that, Incarnate? Let's start with you.
Yes,
I think it's a good thing,
man.
I think it's a good thing. Kind of not. I mean, obviously, when you're dealing with a map that's 120 players and supposed to accommodate that, you're gonna have a lot of ranges where you're just not effective if you had a static weapon that you couldn't change what you had loaded out on. I'm not saying this is overall a good thing if we have things like attrition in there, where all of a sudden you can now change your assault rifle, go from a carbine variant to like a long-barreled rifle scoped variant, and you're now planking health at people that are 200 meters away from you, and they can't regen that. That would stink. But I think when you're dealing with these maps that are going to have these big extremes of open desert on that one desert map, open desert dunes to an interior city fight, it's okay to have players given the option to be able to alter depending on what they're going into, because that keeps you kind of fluid and you don't feel like you are sectioned out of a portion of the map. Like if you want to go help on the middle flags, you can do that now. You can change up your barrel, change up your magazine size or your grip or whatever it is, your optic, and get in there. Now, of course, that is something that might be a little bit bad if you're trying to kind of like scope down your opponent. But we also just kind of lost that entirely. We don't know, as far as Battlefield 5 goes and onwards, we don't know anymore what kind of opponent you're facing, right? You can't tell based off cosmetics in Battlefield 5. You can have any cosmetic and be any class. Same thing now for 2042. You can be any specialist and have any gun. So it's really not going to matter if this guy has a sniper rifle or an AR that's kitted for long range. Yeah. Either way, you're going to get shot and you have no way of knowing it.
Do you
So
think
is it really a
you'll
bad thing? Probably no, not anymore. I think I'm okay with it.
do you think you'll be able to move while customizing your plus system?
They showed him in the elevator, right? So we really don't
Yeah,
know.
we don't know. Yeah.
But if this is like, I feel like it's Crisis inspired because that was the first game that had that kind of thing, or maybe other games did, but Crisis is the one that I remember.
Yeah.
First Crisis, you pulled up your gun, you swapped attachments, and I think you
Could you
moved with that.
move?
You
Yeah, I
could
think so.
Maybe a
move.
little bit?
Yeah. You
Yeah.
could. It was you were kind of forced to walk. You couldn't run.
Right.
Yeah.
It wasn't like a full sprint. Pop, 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 pop. It
Yeah.
was a jaunt. But it's
But I agree with you entirely.
Yeah.
I think that maps they're very dynamic in their environment where you have to switch it up to from close range to long range. I think that's fantastic and kind of allows players to at least make the maneuverability to go transition different terrain is a good idea. Now we don't like the idea of suddenly encountering an area with suddenly everybody's got 8x or 4x scopes on their sniper rifles, like immediately out of nowhere, but that could be an interesting thing, but we'll see
One
how
thing
that.
that does scare me is like if you can take off attachments like suppressors, because the big thing about Battlefield for me is that without suppressors, even and this goes for most FPSs, you can tell what gun is shooting where based on the sound the muzzle makes, right? You can tell, oh, that's a Car 98, oh, that's a STG,
Yeah.
oh, that's a you can tell based off the audio. And having suppressors in a game where you can just randomly slap a suppressor on, all of a sudden, you heard that STG, now you don't hear it anymore. Now you're kind of afraid because you don't know if that STG is going to be around this corner because you just heard it, and now all of a sudden he engaged another enemy, but is that a different person? Is it not? That's a little bit terrifying to me. But everything
It
else,
looks
mag size, barrel size, who cares? As long as it makes the same sound, you know generally what kind of gun you're approaching and
Yeah.
what you're going to be fighting.
it looks like the mini map might be a big thing when it comes to suppressors.
Mm,
It looks
yeah.
like it hides you in the early alpha gameplay.
Same way that
Good.
Who knows if
BF4 does,
they'll
yeah.
change that up? Who knows if they'll change it up? So that might be a really good plus for the plus system to just have that on there in certain situations.
I personally don't disagree with having it. I hope. I don't know if you actually mentioned this or not, but I kind of hope that the plus system is something to where you can create like a bank of items. So you get you choose 2 or 3 items in each section that you go into the server with. And there's more items you can choose from, but those are the only ones you can use the plus system with. And then you can change on the fly with them. I hope that's kind of the case with it, to where it's not like have a
Yeah.
whole suite
That'd be
of
kind of nice. Yeah, I like that
the
It
idea.
looks very limited, and it
yeah,
looked
it does.
per gun, it looked
Yep.
limited as
Mhm.
And
well.
then
Also, we don't know if we can do it on a pistol either. Don't know.
Or thing that's also possibly scary is on other non-rifle weapons. Like, can you change up things with your rocket launcher, stinger, or add attachments or bonuses to those? Or
I hope not.
tanks. Can you use? Can you use? Can you customize tanks on the fly? Can you change up
Mm.
shells and stuff
More
These are things.
balance.
These
More
are
custom-
things. Yes, that
So
that
this whole
should be
entire time you've been
considered.
talking, I totally switched tune. I was pessimistic. Now I'm totally excited. You know why? Because there is so little potential for balance here with all these customizations and all these opportunities and these big huge maps that it's just going to be a total mess. And it's
Yeah.
going to be embracing the mess is going to be the ultimate apex of just having fun. Is just knowing that this is going to be either Battlefield moments because players are stupid or Battlefield moments because you're having fun and it's intense gunfights.
And
Is that a bad thing or is that a good thing? I don't know. Is that going to affect my competitive
No.
portion of it? Probably, but
I think the thing that players
I-
need to remember that going into the 128 player thing is exactly what just Incarnate just said. This is a mode that is just meant for sandbox, meant for chaos. You play as a team, you do what you want, but you shouldn't do a mental freak out over hey, my competitive ego can't be satisfied because I'm not going 100-0 on a kill streak or something like that. I feel like if that's the case, these other two modes are going to fill that gap for you. I feel like, whatever they release, either with Hazard
Yeah.
mode, which is squad based, or with whatever I want to say the hub, because I don't want to, it hasn't been officially announced yet, I feel like that will scratch your itch of, hey, I want to play competitively and completely own servers. But this particular 128 player mode is full on chaos, and if you don't like that, and you don't play it. I feel like there's nothing more than that.
Uh-oh.
The other thing that I would like to see with attachments is true pros and cons. I want to see
Hell yeah.
I want to see, yes, okay, I'm using a a heavier mag right in my gun because I got 50 bullets instead of 20. Reload time should be much, much faster. Possibly have some kind of a, limit on how fast I can pull the gun up, because I don't know if you guys have ever done it, but I have. I have tried pulling up a gun with a 50 round mag on it, and it is definitely noticeable from pulling up
Interesting.
one that has a 30 round mag on it.
Mhm.
There is a weight difference there. So like maybe have an ADS time that is affected by that. Having other things like recoil increase, decrease, your sight picture being obscured or not obscured when you're scoping in, or that type of stuff. Like there needs to be some actual pros and cons instead of just this
Why?
attachment.
That's why. Why
Do
would you
what?
need pros and cons? So this has been a big debate on the Simpic Discord, where there's a lot of people that say we need pros and cons, and other people that say we just. Why would you want to give cons? Why make a detriment to an attachment? Because your detriment is already not being able to pick a different attachment. So why does everything have to have downsides?
Yeah.
Like,
Because
okay,
I
yes,
think
you pick a 50 round mag, or you get to pick the laser sight instead, something like that. Like you're picking one or the other.
because
Obviously,
I
there's always
think
going to be something a little
having
bit better.
I think having cons on attachments, while it doesn't completely eliminate the possibility of it, it does, I think, mitigate it to an extent of having the ultimate gun or the ultimate setup.
Well, isn't that just based on what you define it as? If every attachment has upsides and no downsides, you pick based off what you want and for the situation. The effect of not having anything besides what you pick because you picked that and you didn't pick the other attachment is already a downside. So why make it worse? Why make the baseline gun worse by adding attachments to it? Because you chose one thing and got a downgrade on another. We've seen both in shooters, but it just seems silly to downgrade a gun because you tried to pick an upgrade and it ends up being worse or worse in some way or another. It's
I
just
I I think
unnecessary.
I think that I think it needs to be there for balancing purposes. I think there needs to be a defined, yes, this is good, but it's going to have a trade-off with this.
Right, but you can balance that just everything being good, right? I mean,
No,
Well, then you're
because
just gonna have
I
a
think
BF1
you're
situation,
just going to
right?
end up with a situation to where everybody gravitates towards one specific set
but not
of
if every attachment's
attachments.
good. No, not if every attachment is good in its own way, right? If you have to pick between a laser sight that gives you 50% better hip fire or a 45 round mag, all of a sudden you have to choose, okay, do I want to spray down more people with more bullets or do I want to spray down more people
But
with
in the
better
context of what
accuracy?
we're talking about right now, that's not a thing,
Why
because
is
your
that?
mags and your laser sights are completely different.
Well, I don't know. I'm comparing two different options here in theory, right? This is in a vacuum. We don't know what things are limited to what. But I mean, there's no reason to give everything a downside when the downside is already existing in picking one particular thing over another.
Yeah.
That's like picking something because it's going to make it better, but oh man, now I can't do anything else. We have the plus system, right? So we can just pick and choose based on engagement ranges how we want to spec our gun. So why give downsides that you can just swap out immediately for the next long range engagement when you just previously spec for short range? Doesn't make
I
any
think
sense.
this really comes down to what attachments are you giving us, what bonuses they're going to give us. Because quite frankly, it really all comes down to how effective are the base weapons themselves anyway. If they're
Mm.
really effective early on, how much of a buff are they going to get from certain things? How much of a nerf from certain things are they going to get? Are they already a laser beam due to the weird hit reg or recoil effect efficiencies? It really comes down to what they're going to give us. Like if they're giving us heavy barrels that are suddenly decreasing the recoil or things that increase the range a lot. I mean, that's one thing. But if they're just giving us a different a scope for the gun or an extended mag, that I think is more reasonable than changing up the complete way a gun functions.
Yeah. I don't think
And
they're
right.
totally disregarding balance at all. It looks like a lot of the language in their marketing stuff regards balance and people's concerns with they made a whole paragraph on what if everybody has a rocket, and they talked about balancing that and et
Tanks are
cetera,
going
et
to be
cetera.
pissed.
So yeah, they
That's what
gotta it's all about balance, really. So
happened.
Yeah.
sounds like a nightmare, but we'll find out real quick.
Yeah,
We'll see.
I don't imagine that the 128 mode is going to be the most balanced thing ever. I don't expect that any of us going into it should, or any player that plays it should be arguing to dice for balance. I believe if that's the case, that they should be looking towards the other modes. All right, so
Okay.
that is the major topics that we're going to that we have listed for you guys. We're thinking about doing another one of these roundtables somewhere in the future, but the next big news obviously comes out on July 22nd, 5 days away, when they're going to announce the details of the redacted game mode, which, as far as we've heard, is called the Battlefield Hub. Are you guys excited? Do we have any wishes for it? Do you guys have any clue of what you might want to see in that kind of game mode?
For the redacted or for the returning maps kind of thing?
For the returning maps kind of thing. That is the redacted mode, yeah, as far as we know.
Oh, okay. So we're not talking about the hazard thing.
Well, hazard mode we
No.
literally know nothing about, other than it's not a battle royale.
It's not a battle royale, but it's close to it.
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, we're not getting information on that on the 22nd.
Yeah,
we're getting
the
information.
hub.
Yeah, we're getting the hub, but that mode will be later on, like August or September.
So I mean, for me, the Battlefield Hub thing, really all I would like to see is for it to be standalone and for us to have access to servers. If it's standalone, then we don't have to worry about it following any sort of life cycle. What's the word I'm looking for? Like game life cycle. You know, Battlefield is like typically around 2, sometimes 3 years if they really fuck up, and then like COD's every single year, that type of thing. If this is a hub, if this is something to where it's bringing back old maps from multiple games and combining it into one, and multiple factions and combining it into one, sounds like it's going to be something that they can build upon over the years. Something that it's not, they're going to be throwing it away. So if that's the case, then I hope that it's standalone, and then I hope that, like I said, we get private servers, because this is something that I think, while it would be really cool for 2042 to have it, I don't think that it's going to have any kind of ability for community. I'm not even just talking about competitive stuff, just community events. God, I miss those community events. Like, that was so much fun back in the day. And it would be nice to be able to have an outlet for that. So
I actually don't agree with you. I think that if there's any game mode in Battlefield 2042 that is going to have more community features to it than anything else, it's this mode. I think that this is what it's going to be, because if they're going to bring back 64-player maps and only 64-player maps, I think this is where you're going to have a lot of the sandbox customization options.
Yeah,
more than anything.
I hope that's what it is.
I think that this is where it's going to be, rather than this 128. Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I hope that that's what it is. I hope that we have the private servers, and it is the place that is where our community events and our competitive events will now reside.
And quite frankly, if it's free to play, I agree with you. This thing, that thing that they build it now and build it well, could last a decade or two.
Well, didn't they say some aspect of 2042 is free?
Yes,
the free elements or something.
Well, they said one. Again, we're speaking rumors, but there was rumors that at least one of these game modes is standalone and free to play.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's the hazard zone, but that's all rumor now.
Yeah, we don't. It's all rumor.
This isn't like Halo, where they came out and said multiplayer is free to play. Everyone get in.
We don't know. Yeah,
a huge play on Halo's part. I mean, I'm getting off topic, but that's really cool.
Yeah.
Woo, Halo!
I'm excited for it.
I'm tangenting. I'm sorry, I started the tangent. My bad.
Oh no!
He loves his Halo.
All right, Julian, what do you think of it? Battlefield Hub.
I think it might be the greatest thing that will ever hit the Battlefield franchise if they do it correctly. Like, they actually have passion about it.
Sure.
It's like, oh man, remember all those good times? Now we're remastering everything, which everybody wanted, by the way. Everybody wanted 2042 to be a remastered BF3, or just have it release a remastered BF3 and you'll be good to go. I just like the nostalgia. I think the nostalgia would be fantastic. They have custom servers. It's a love letter. That's what they said. It's a love letter. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's like you played it back in the day, but it's all remastered and you have new equipment, and who knows, maybe they'll toss in their own specialist or something for that specific thing. They'll have Back Company 2 specialist man, and he has his rocket or something, like nostalgia constantly. New Karkin, new everything.
I think, as they confirmed already, it's 2042's engine with the old maps. So I think everything else is the
Right.
same. You're just playing on an old map. So I think even if we get these old maps, people are still going to complain because they always will.
Yeah.
Like this
Yeah,
Zavad
sure.
311 doesn't play the same as the old 3 Zavad
Or if
311.
or if you're gonna
It's just
like,
remastered.
or if you're
yeah.
gonna remaster Metro, oh god, we're playing Metro again. Yeah, it's
Oh,
like
no.
yeah.
Yeah.
So-
That would be cool if it's a standalone. I like that idea, Brett. for
Have
sure.
you guys played or seen the COD mobile game?
Not played.
I've
but
seen it.
yeah.
I've seen
Okay.
it. I've seen it
So
played. Yeah.
COD Mobile is basically like a mashup of all the old COD maps, like the big COD maps. And then they put in a whole bunch of the old guns and stuff. Now, obviously, it's on mobile, so it's not going to play exactly the same. But they basically are doing kind of, they've already done what we're describing with just having like one, its own, area where all these old maps and guns and factions and stuff can exist in its own little bubble area away from the main game.
Right, but
It's
we don't know if it's that extensive though. Like I don't think they're bringing in old guns or old
well, I'm
character
not saying
models.
they
That kind
will.
of
I'm
stuff.
just saying that's
Right.
what COD Mobile was doing.
Right.
And this,
I don't
if
know if they're going that far. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, it'll be again. The passion just has to be there,
Yep.
and I hope it's like a seasonal event where it's elongated too. It's at launch it might be like 2 or 3, maybe 3 maps, old maps that they had, but over the seasons they release another package like a 1942 package. Kind of, it's not like what COD's doing, but they're all packages in the season. Here's your battle pass, and it pertains to all 3 game experiences. You got your vanilla, you got your hazard zone package, and then you got your hub package.
The thing
So
that
you got your nostalgia and all that stuff. So
the thing
I
that
think that's how they're going to do it.
the thing that I worry about most with that is the fact that they're bringing in like 3 or 4 studios to work on this game. And
Yeah.
if they take in the same approach that they took with BF5 and said, "Hey, Dice Sweden is making BF5, Dice LA or Criterion is making the Firestorm in game mode," and said, Firestorm handled it, they launched it, they handled it for 3 months, and then they said, "Okay, we're done with this," and they gave it to Dice. And then Dice did nothing with it. There was no more patches, there was no more content, the game mode just died overnight. So if Dice LA is working on this hub, big question is, how long does this receive support, and can Dice manage multiple projects like this at the same time?
that's a good point because Ripple is already slated for their own title, right?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah. So
And Criterion
they'll
is
be
working
moving-
on this game again. They were pulled off whatever the next Need for Speed was, right? I believe so.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
So how long are they gonna provide support? These are really important questions for the game's lifespan.
Well, I trust Dice,
We'll
or
see.
sorry, I trust Ripple Effect. I know some of the guys there. They're cool dudes, so I have faith in them. I don't know so much. This is the same situation that Gravity just said. Dice Sweden got handed over Firestorm after a couple of months of development by Criterion, and then Firestorm fell to the wayside. I hope this does not become the same scenario here, where Ripple Effect works on this stuff as they have been the last couple of months, and then it just gets handed off to Sweden, and support disappears. Because this is, again, the love letter to the fans should not get abandoned, like the Firestorm mode that was meant for the fans to play Battle Royale in the Battlefield experience, and then it goes poof after mediocre reception.
And it wasn't it wasn't
work.
by any standards, Firestorm was not a bad Battle Royale. It just needed work. Like it
Oh,
was
of
not
course, yeah,
it was
of
not
course.
like the worst thing ever. As there have
No.
been worse Battle Royales.
Oh, there
Sure.
were cool ideas, I think, that were in the game.
Yeah.
They just weren't able to iron out some of the bad, parts of it.
Yeah.
Which made the overall experience not as amazing. So I mean, yeah. Anything else for?
Yeah, I was going to ask, does anybody have any other topics? I think we covered pretty much anything. Is there anything in the chat? Does anybody have?
I got a couple of questions throughout the thing I could read off. If we
Sure,
wanted to
go
over,
ahead.
like,
Unless
chat
anybody's in
questions.
a rush to head out.
Yeah. Let me read it
No.
before I say anything, and it's a no word or something.
That's a no word. You can't say
We're
that.
online,
You
Incarnate. You can
can't
say
say
whatever you want.
Do not get.
Well, no, you can't. Let's roll that one back there, Graham.
Yeah.
Hey,
Okay,
Brett.
here's here. Oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
never mind.
No, you're good. You're good.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask Brett. Do you think the hub will be completely separate from vanilla?
I hope so.
So, I mean, you get 7 maps at launch. Wouldn't you want like some remastered ones mixed in there, or that's not how it's gonna work?
No.
No,
I-
I would not. I would not want to see. I am so sick and tired of seeing the same maps coming back over and over and over again in each battlefield. I want new maps. I want good maps. I want them to stop rehashing. It's nice to see some of the old classics every now and then, you know. But to be honest with you, like,
But for
I want
gosh sake,
guys to
stop
actually-
remastering Wake Island, please.
Yeah, that,
Ugh.
way
Bring back.
overdone.
How about BF3's Bandar Desert? That was a huge map, too big for BF3.
Oh,
Bring it back here.
fuck that
Oh my
To be
God.
fair, that was
I hate
not
that
the
map.
worst map in the world. And
it was a
Abandoned
good
Flats
map.
was
As
a
far as-
far worse map.
Yes.
Yes.
That was the big wheat field thing for Capture the Flag, right? Where it was just
Yeah.
That was a fantastic rush map, though.
Yeah.
debatable.
Yeah.
No, not debatable. I have
Debatable.
said it's fantastic, and therefore it is.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
All right, what were you gonna say, Incarnate?
So I got a question here from. Oh, I just lost the tab. Hold on. Too many tabs. Not enough time. And maybe is that the wrong
No
tab?
more Wake Island.
Well, actually, there was
No.
there was some rumors about the maps coming back, and I think
Yes.
Wake Island was one of
It
them.
was one
and
of
then it was
them.
like Lockers and Metro and
You know what?
Shanghai.
Lockers and Metro?
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is okay.
What
So
the-
okay. So if we're going to talk about that briefly, let's just say I take that with a grain of salt because that would be incredibly stupid. Like if you're going to release, here's the thing.
it's not-
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. I can understand making Locker and Metro, remastering them eventually, but to release them together first is ridiculous.
Well, the leak doesn't specify when they're coming out, so maybe like 2 months from now we get Locker, and then 4 months from that you get Metro, and then you just all your Impy guys that are happy with that just all go into the same server and go away forever, and whatever.
Yeah.
They're gonna be 128 players.
No.
The
No,
remastered maps?
that
No.
would be in the hub, right? So you'd hope not.
If we're going off of
Wait,
again,
how do you guys?
if we're going
how
off
do
of
you
what
know
Tom
that?
Henderson said, then
We don't.
It was-
no, if
no,
we're
it
going
doesn't.
off,
Okay.
if we're going off the rumor
incredible
from Tom
rumor.
Henderson, then it said
Incredible
it's 64 player max for the remastered maps.
No rumors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so the question from Omaha in chat, they said they do not personally like the annoying when there is someone on the flag indicator. So you think of BF1, BF5,
Agreed.
where there's the indicator and it says, okay, here's a red speck compared to your blue speck of how much weighting per team is on this flag.
Yeah.
Do you guys think it would be like BF3, or do you think it should be like BF1, BF5?
No,
BF3,
I think that's
BF4?
I think that's something that's going to stay because the people who designed that, because I remember actually back in whenever they introduced that feature, my feedback was like, dude, you guys got to take this out. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I should not know how many people are on this based on that little gauge thing. I was like, that's just
Oh,
absolutely
yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
I liked the way, like, where if I was jumping on a flag and it's ticking down and all of a sudden it stops, okay, there's one guy on here. It starts
Right.
going up, all right, there's more than one guy. Okay.
Yeah.
So then I know that is as far as much information I think that needs to be out there for it. And I also think that stupid ass system to where the closer you are to the flag, the faster you cap it or the more weight that it gives you the cap. If it is a 1v1, but you're closer to the flag, you'll still be able to cap the flag as opposed to that other person. That's the dumbest thing ever.
Which game had that?
Which game?
Which game had
That's
that?
in
That's
Battlefield 5.
That's
No.
Battlefield 5.
That's Battlefield
is.
5.
It is.
You guys
The
didn't
closer
know
you are-
that?
Yeah, the closer you are to a flagpole in
You
Battlefield
guys
5,
didn't know
the
that. Oh
faster-
my god.
the more priority you have or waiting to capture
No.
the
Yeah.
flag.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Really?
No.
So if you're
I
closer
didn't
to
know
the
that.
flag,
Yep.
if you're closer to the
Wow.
flag and it's a 1v1, you will still cap that flag out. The
Right.
bullshit about it is that you get into a situation where they make these cap zones incredibly too big. I mean,
Yeah.
they're massive cap zones.
Right.
And so you're literally running around trying to find this asshole. And you're like, where is he?
Yeah.
I can't
That's
find him because I'm traversing a quarter of the map. That's a flag. Like, it needs to be smaller flag zones like it was in Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. And you do not need to know, you do not need to have that gauge on there.
Yeah,
But
but
maybe
when
not
you were talking about that
even-
originally, I was originally thinking the catch-up mechanic, the one that they took
Right,
out.
no,
Yeah,
that's different.
that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Ugh.
I think I got another question here. Let me find it real quick. Let me read it over. Just in case.
I guess I never noticed that, the whole being close to the flag thing, because I didn't want to be in the fucking open and get shot. There was never a one-on-one really at any flag in BF5.
Noted.
as far as I remember.
Noted. Carpet bomb the flagpole. Got it.
Yes.
The frustrating map that I remember, granted, I stopped playing Battlefield 5 pretty much in like early 2019. So, but basically the Devastation map, I think that's the one. That's the one where like everything's bombed out, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah. So the Devastation map, like there are so many places on, I can't even remember what the flag is. It's the one back behind the church, to where people. This was before the visibility pass, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was just like,
No, he's thinking D.
it's
D
playing
flag.
whack-a-mole is what it felt like. Like,
Yeah.
where's he at?
Your E.
Yeah.
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 They're
Well,
in the
it doesn't help that
pews.
there's no 3D spotting or no good visual indicators.
It's the one with the mall where the mannequins are below. Yeah.
It was just horrible, man. It was absolutely horrible. So, but anyways, yeah, I don't think that should be in. So,
I don't
what was
What
that
were you
question?
saying? Incarnate, yeah.
There was another question, but it wasn't really a question. They just wanted to get us to give our feedback to Dice,
Oh.
which I know Brett has done multiple times in the past. I've done multiple times in the past. It really doesn't depend on what we say; it's what they want to hear.
Yeah.
That's just the blunt facts of it. We are always willing. I know most of us here have always given our feedback, or at least attempted to, in one way, shape, or form. It's just whether or not they're receptive
So,
to it. And
what was
whether
that question again?
they just wanted us to give. It wasn't a question. They asked it as a question of, will you do this for me? They say they're a member of the hardcore community.
I literally made a half-hour
of-
video for competitive Battlefield to Dice. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I've written docs up before about this kind of stuff and had it sent off, and it just goes nowhere.
So I would imagine that just the people who are here in this chat room, we could probably make a couple of books out of the feedback that we have given, since I've been given feedback since the end of Battlefield 3. So that was the first time that I got to actually talk to a developer was the end of Battlefield 3 going into Battlefield 4. And then since then I have had numerous conversations in every single iteration of the game, except for this one. This one I have absolutely no idea what's going on. And in majority of those situations, they don't start actually listening to feedback that people like myself give until after there's a shitstorm that happens. So it's typically like, 5-6 months within the game before they start making some of those changes, even though we tell them like months in advance. In one of the examples that I can give, like, as far as like the Ripple Effect studio, I'm kind of really interested on them working on Hub, because they were a lot, and obviously things have changed over there, so it may not be the same, especially because David Serlin was the main man back when I was working with them. But they worked with the community really, really well. That's how we got the squad obliteration mode. So if you guys don't know, Battlefield 4 had an obliteration mode for 64 players. It was absolute chaos. We ended up we kept on saying we wanted a smaller version of this. Dennis Brenwall, the guy who went on to Star Wars, he basically threw out this really half-assed, like probably took him 20 minutes to put together. I think it was like 4 or 5 maps of where it was capped at, I think it was like 8v8 or something like that. It was horrible. A few months later, Serlin actually got a hold of it, and he set it up to where Crazy Baz, oh my God, I cannot remember his name off the top of my head, and I feel so bad because I've worked with him for years. The guy who used to admin ESL for the 5v5 Cups.
Pio.
God, I could not think of his name. I feel bad too. But Crazy Baz, Pio, and myself, we had our own chat with 2 developers to work on that mode, and they would take back our feedback. They would implement it like within a few days. We would actually get to play test it, give feedback directly on it, and make changes to it. Like, that was the best experience I ever had. That does not happen at the beginning of games, like, ever. I can tell you right now that all of these feedback sessions that we end up giving, 9 times out of 10, it's the developers just wanting to stroke their own ego, hoping that YouTubers and streamers say that they like all of their stuff. There's really not a whole lot of constructive things that come out of it. I mean, it's some things do, but for the most part, things are already set in motion to where things can't be changed.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
The biggest example of what Brett's saying is literally the TTK change in BF5. The one where that actually caused a huge shitstorm and actually forced the propaganda Armo Dice, the YouTubers that literally do nothing but provide information to the game, to actually call Dice out on how stupid the decision was to change the TTK was, and only then did it come to be a change twice 3 months later. Yeah,
three times if you include the alpha to the beta change.
Yeah.
All because they wanted to introduce armor.
Yeah. I was gonna bring up. Did we talk about the storm that much? Like,
yeah, we did. I think you were out for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, I might have been out for that. And then the EM storm is also a confirmed thing.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things that goes off of what we just said here. Of like, we were talking about a credible rumor for the hub maps, but the same rumor has also been applied to the storms, and how they apparently have become very tiresome in playtesting after the first 1 or 2 times. Even though they're supposed to be random, they occur every match or something, and then that makes it an unenjoyable experience. And I gotta say, I kind of agree with that. And that's one of those things where I think one of the developers said, hey, what would happen if we just put a storm in? And they put that into their dev blog video that they had up a couple days ago, where they said, what if we put a storm into the game? Oh, that's so cool. And the tech guys go, oh, we can't do that. And then they did it. And they put it into the game. And now it's in every single Conquest large map or whatever it's going to be. You know, because they want to show off this centerpiece like Levolution, where a tornado comes, or a hurricane comes, or a water spout, or an EM storm, or lightning, whatever it is.
Why don't you just bring back a Titan from 2142 and just call it a day?
Yeah. Whatever it is, they need these set pieces. And again, that goes back to like Battlefield 1 with the big monstrosity things that would come in. What were they called?
Behemoths.
The behemoths?
How terrible those were. Yeah.
It's
oh my god, I pissed off some devs back in the day on that one.
Not only is it a dev stroke, like, hey, we had this idea and we're going to put it into the game, despite whatever ramifications they might have, but it's also it's a marketing thing, like Levolution was.
It is.
And that's not. I mean, I understand the need for a marketing kind of gimmick, but the gimmick needs to be healthy for the gameplay. Behemoth were not. Levolution depended on the map.
Works.
Yeah, and
that needs to be the marketing.
I don't think tornadoes, even though they might be random, it's gonna be too beneficial. I don't think it's a good thing overall.
No. So you got any other questions?
I don't think I do. I saw a couple that scrolled by in chat a while ago, but I'm pretty sure the chat.
Do we need to talk about anti-cheat or anything like that? Because we don't know anything. Not that we're ever going to know anything about anti-cheat.
We're not going to say anything about anti-cheat.
I do have a good quote, apparently, from a credible person. It's not a rumor; it's an actual person. So,
I know this one. Go ahead.
Is it the Kiwi Dog one?
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So Kiwi Dog's the guy who did BF3 Venice. He's the Venice mod for that, lead dev, who's been working on it for like 10 years. He made a tweet the other day, and I just caught a glimpse of it, but it was saying he went down and broke down like Punkbuster and Valorant's anti-cheat and easy anti-cheat and fair fight and all the common things. And he described how easily they were broken. So like private hacks for this one, open public source hacks for this one, etc. I mean, it's a tweet, so it's like 250 characters limited. But he said like all these things are already broken in some way, shape, or form. So how are we going to have it? So BF 2042 has anti-cheat that can work, especially on a player scale of 128 players, where now you've got 64 extra players who could have issues, who could be one of those potential cheaters. Now you have 128 potential cheaters who get to affect 127 players, not just 64, 128. That's something, obviously we know nothing about that, and they probably will not say anything. They'll just say we're looking into anti-cheat when the cheaters do come out in the beta. They know they will, or in the actual launch of the game, they will, and it'll affect crossplay, and crossplay players will get mad. But it's something that we're gonna have to deal with at some point. And again, that comes back to like private servers. That comes down to admin run servers, but we don't know if that's going to happen either, and it most likely won't.
I see a question. I see a question in there. I see a question in there from Life about: is there any info about gunplay? Life, to my understanding, there is no information about gunplay because we have not seen any information about it. We have not seen any real gunplay footage either. So it's
a whole 16 seconds. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I know, right? It's crazy.
We saw that vector clip. Somebody broke down like the TTK on that, but it was a little bit sketchy.
Yeah.
But they estimated like a 6 BTK at 1200 RPM or something, which sounds like a vector, but that's not exactly.
Yeah, we just don't know. We just don't have the information.
Yeah, we just don't know.
However, it was confirmed that the movement, was it a little bit that converted on Reddit that the movement of the game is more akin to Battlefield 5. They're advancing off of that, yeah. Which surprises nobody, really. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I didn't have a problem with BF5's movement.
No,
I don't think.
Maybe a little bit too much sliding for my taste. You can see some people that really get good with the movement will start moving around corners on one leg.
The only problem that I have with sliding is
crazy.
when it is used consistently to traverse the map.
Right,
Yeah.
and that's
But
exactly
like I don't have a problem. I stopped playing in 2019, so I don't know what it plays like now. But back when I stopped playing it, the movement wasn't really a problem for me.
Yeah.
So
Movement
if it's the
just
same way,
needs to
that's fine.
be. It just needs to be improved
Yeah.
and looked at. Watch for
less
balance
animations,
issues.
for the love of God.
The less
Definitely
animations
less
is the biggest thing, I swear to God.
And that goes not so much into like entry vehicles and like that kind of stuff, equipment, health bags, but also player movement animations. Climbing animations are not fun. Make it quick, brief, and then if BF1 and 5 had this thing where like here's a 8-foot wall, my player will now climb over this in a 5-second animation. Why make it climbable at all? Then you're just making it harder for people to look, and you have to check more corners, to look at more places where somebody could come from. Just make it a regular wall that you walk around.
I remember having a conversation with Florian, and one of the things that he was talking about doing, and I don't even know if they were able to implement any of this when they were actually, when was I talking about it? Yeah, it was still Battlefield 5. So basically what he was saying is that they were looking at trying to improve the ability for the person to look around when he is getting into vehicles and out of vehicles. So they were playing with, because when you get in and out of them, it's got that weird, head jerk, like you're looking. They were trying to, basically the way I understood it is that they were trying to like disconnect that to where maybe you could start kind of controlling the view camera a little bit better so that it's not so disorientating when you're getting in and out, which I think would be great. Because it would just, one of the things that I absolutely hate is that weird ass just wobble getting in and out of the vehicle and just that disorientation afterwards.
Just get rid of animations.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
Can't have your foot zooped if you got an animation.
Yeah.
That's the way I would prefer it, but I don't think that they're getting rid of animations anytime soon. I mean, that's
Well,
something that,
okay, so the weird thing about this, Brett, is in that original game, the original trailer, we saw that the quad, the C4 quad, off the top of the rooftop into the little bird, right? Yeah. Well, the guy's riding it, and then suddenly it cuts away, and suddenly there's nobody on it, right? So the assumption that people were getting was, hey, he just jumped right off of that. There's no exit animation. That'd be awesome, right? And I think in the gameplay trailer they showed people getting into secondary positions with animations. So maybe it's a passenger seat thing, which would be cool because I'd be like, oh yeah, passenger seat animations would be fine. But as far as the actual driver, we don't know.
I mean, I don't even really. Okay, so I mean, I see people in chat going, "Just get rid of animation." I agree with you. Just get rid of animations.
Yeah.
I didn't see the problem with them in the past Battlefield games. I thought personally, it took a lot of timing and skill and just kind of you had to map out your buttons in just the right way, and you had to how to know what you were doing and when to do it. When you were doing stuff like the extinguisher on the helicopters or a really good tank player, you could see him, he's backing up, he'd get out, he'd rep for a little bit. Like if you've ever watched like Kazagi, like when he's in a tank in a public server, it is so fun to watch him play because he'll go into a big old beehives, basically stir it up, and he's taking a lot of damage. He backs out and he'll rep for just a few moments, get back in it, kill a couple of guys, rep for a few minutes. Like that to me takes skill. Like that's a skillful thing that tanker had to learn how to do in order to be that effective. Same thing with the guys going in and out of the helicopters way up in the air. You see them, switching for the extinguisher. Like that's something that they learned how to do and they were able to make it happen. I don't have a problem with that. What the reason I don't play in vehicles, but this is what I do when I'm playing in a public server with others. I will repair their vehicle. I will help them out and make sure that they stay alive, especially if I'm playing with good vehicle players, because obviously they're going to make an impact in the game and they're going to help win the game. I stopped repairing vehicles altogether in Battlefield 5, 100%, because every single freaking time I tried to get out of the tank, I took a rocket up the ass because I got out in front of the tank. Like, it's the dumbest shit ever. I'm not going to spawn on a tank when I know when I try and get out to help him, I'm going to die, because more than likely the reason why I'm spawning on him is because he's in trouble and I need to get out and rep. So it just kind of killed that part of the team aspect for it. And that I would like to see animations go away for that reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of references to Battlefield 4 in 2042. Looks like they talk about it a lot, reference it a lot. I think they're probably gonna be at least getting in animations. But it's gonna be really quick. I hope. We saw, I don't know if it's a thing, but we saw in the gameplay trailer a person going into a helicopter that looked like an animation. It was like a slow thing. It wasn't like he just disappeared into it like we would see in Battlefield 4 or something.
Yep.
Or you just appear to the side. I don't know. I think there'll be some kind of animation to get in things. But to get out, like if you have an animation to get out, you can't do the rendezvous thing. You can't.
Or
you can try,
or to switch seats in the same vehicle. There should be no animation there. Like, hey, switching from the pilot seat to a gunner seat on a helicopter, or like in the BF1 where you'd switch to the back gunner seat of the plane, and you would actually have that 10 to 5 second animation of getting to the back seat. It's ridiculous. Just get rid of that stuff.
It's the whole immersion thing.
Immersion,
cinematic gameplay.
Immersion, nothing. It increases the skill and depth of the gameplay. I mean, you all.
Yeah, they didn't
you're
care.
able. Yeah.
The funny thing is that people will scream immersion. When I have an animation that literally takes all control away from me, I'm not immersed anymore.
Yeah.
I'm watching. I'm basically watching a short film right there. It's just like, oh, okay, and it's done. I can go back into it. It kills the immersion. Like the immersion. Excuse is bullshit.
That's why I'm worried about this whole weather stuff, man. They had a extreme weather playlist on Battlefield 5. The most annoying thing ever. And it looks like they're taking up to freaking 10 on this one.
I mentioned it before. It's like everybody loved Gulf of Oman and BF4. Let's put the sandstorm back and make it worse.
Exactly. I don't like it. It scares me. The tornado sounds really fun for a little bit, but like if it's every round or if it's bugged out, and
gonna get old real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's a whole bunch of other stuff
So
we don't even know about.
There's another question here from Fitzpatrick. He's asking if there's any thoughts on a climbing mechanic for higher walls like in Warface. So another player basically boosting up another player. For me, no. I don't think that there should be anything. In my opinion, I thought that the ability to mantle over walls in BF1 was and I told this to one of the level designers of Scar. It was Scar, right? The beta map.
Couldn't say Scar. Yep.
Yeah, Scar. Yeah. So I actually told him, I was like, you ruined this map. And he's like, what are you talking about?
I agree.
Said, being able to go over every one of these walls and all of this stuff ruins the flow of this map. You had a fantastically laid out map, and then you just broke it by saying, oh, I can go anywhere, anytime, any way I want. The whole point of having a map and obstacles in it is so that it drives the traffic in a certain way around the air, to those objectives. And when you allow that kind of play, now, granted, I'm sure there's a way you could build a map around that aspect, but DICE hasn't done that yet. Oh, and I don't think they're going to do it in this next one either. So I would rather see the mantling part of it just absolutely just out of it, just go away.
Brett, didn't you hear they put grappling hooks in this game?
Yeah, it's going to be amazing, dude. I'm going to be like George of the Jungle and just freaking swinging around everywhere I go.
Just wait for the Overwatch Widow mains to come in and do the grappling hook sniper.
Oh, it's gonna happen. Yeah, they're gonna be grappling sniper rifle. Oh, look at me doing the 180. Yeah. Okay, another question here. Did you guys discuss destruction evolution at all? How are they for nearly every Battlefield map is negatively affected flow because the design is never taken into account? Yeah, we did talk about that, how it was negatively affecting with basically destroying the whole town. Yes, we did mention it. And I for one hope that that's not the case. I would rather see like skeletons of buildings and like things that will be used for cover.
It's not like the micro destruction of Battlefield 3. I think that's fine.
Here's an interesting thing. I don't know if anybody ever read anything about this yet. So obviously in like that Doha map, there's a lot of skyscrapers, and we saw footage from the gameplay trailer where obviously there were elevators to get up. Was there any other way to get up those buildings that we knew of other than choppers? Was there
Squirrel
like
suit tornado.
For which maps again? Or for which
like
buildings?
the Doha one where it was like the cities on the side where it's the sandstorm?
Hourglass.
Yeah. Thank you.
Oh yeah. I think they said elevators. Like
Yeah.
that, someone mentioned that you could fight on like the plaza and then the roof, like
Okay,
Battlefield.
so we can camp those again. Great.
Right. So the only way to kill it is to get up there somehow, luckily, or have a helicopter sweep through. Fantastic.
Yeah, but we'll see about. Remember, this is different conquests. Don't you have forget? Like, there's only one thing,
Conquest or not,
maybe
people get on
one
rooftop with
object
sniper.
up there. Like in
Oh,
the data.
That doesn't stop people though. I mean, Shanghai has tons of
No.
rooftops, and people just sit on any rooftop that has an objective or not.
Yeah.
So now they get to sit up there with a sniper and a rocket launcher.
Yeah, but it won't be an actual flag. It'll just
No,
be a
I don't-
portion of it.
Right. No one's saying that.
I think the fact that it's not an objective is even worse because you get a situation like on Dawnbreaker, for instance, where they set up on top of the building in between, what is that, Echo and C?
Oh,
And they just literally all they have to do is parachute down and they can help a team break out of a spawn trap, but they won't do it because they're just sniping and camping the elevator.
You gotta remember
that type of shit is going to happen in every game that you allow rooftops.
You gotta remember exactly what Brett just said. The insistence on verticality in Battlefield is absolutely destroying maps. That is one of the worst features of BF maps. And the fact that the matter is, like, people love Dam of Peak Rush specifically for that rush and for that rush jump, and it's like, oh, that's great. How do we re-implement this in BF4? Well, let's put a bunch of buildings in there that we can get on top of the roofs in. And this game seems no different. I mean, they're just going to be up on the rooftops sniping and sitting up there with beacons and rockets, and it's going to be the same thing.
So I don't know if you guys remember this or not, but do you remember the MAV elevator glitch in BF3?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that right there, what it did to Karkand and Tehran Highway, it killed those maps. Like I remember.
Oh yeah, of course.
I remember being in servers initially when people were abusing that, and the server would just empty out when those maps came around. And then I also remember a few weeks later, servers completely took that map out of their rotation because of that reasoning.
Yeah.
And while I'm not saying obviously that power is not going to be there anymore, but that just kind of shows you like just annoying people are going to absolutely piss off others, but it's always going to be there because DICE has this obsession now since Battlefield 4 with having these tall ass rooftops.
Well, and again, Ender has just said it in chat. Not all rooftops need to be inbound. I mean,
Exactly.
this takes one dev or one intern who's been paid in chips and crackers for an entire week to add a third dimensional out of bounds layer. Not just the boundaries on the map from a 2D side, but then here's XYZ rooftop set.
It ruined Pro Market and BF4. Same thing.
Pro Market has several rooftops that you cannot access unless you have the correct jump or the correct piece of art asset that is still there. And so people will jump over it, destroy it behind them, and then have a spawn beacon on an inaccessible rooftop for the rest of the game. And it's painful.
Can I bring up one point about destruction real quick? I despise the whole debris mechanic where you're getting killed by debris over time.
In
And
oh, you mean in BF5?
And BF5, that cannot come back. That is terrible.
Battlefield 3 killed you or it didn't kill you, and that was it. Battlefield 5 is like a 10 health tick over like 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And the thing is
you're still dying. It's terrible.
I thought the first time I experienced that, I thought the server was lagging out. Because I was like away from the building and I'm still getting hurt. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Why am I getting damaged here? Yeah, no, the BF3, I think they nailed it in terms of like, I think you said micro destruction, but being able to just chip off at walls and then have that debris fall down and do damage in certain key locations, like that right there was fantastic. And I love that. And it allowed you to just have those just really fun moments of being able to clear out an area, especially one that you're having trouble getting players out of. Like Grand Bazaar is like obviously one of the hottest areas for that. But like, I remember a lot of times, we're trying to bust through B. We just can't do that. Pull out a rocket, shoot it up there. Boom. I get 5 kills. All of a sudden my team now can flow up in through there. Like, I hope that we kind of have that coming back. And I mean, why did they ever come up with a reason as to why they did that damage over time? Like, what was the
because fire does it? Why not?
We could just I'm sure there's certain people that gave them that idea, but
they just gave up.
Yeah.
Well, because they were worried about company coin issues.
They just gave up. Actually, so someone just
They didn't have the tech.
Discord, and they
They have
say
the
from the
tech?
exact
Yeah.
Battlefield briefing, quote, "You will not be able to play on every level of a skyscraper, but you can expect lobby and rooftop combat, which will be accessed via elevators and zip lines."
Oh,
Uh,
zip
Oh
lines.
yeah,
I forgot
zip
about
lines. I
that.
forgot
Yeah.
about that. Yeah,
So
yeah.
that does not
That'd be interesting. Yeah.
that does not rule out the fact that you could maybe get onto a different building and be inaccessible. I mean, there's still maybe going to be buildings that are off limits, except for the person who has a wingsuit or who flies the heli, then jumps out of the heli and gets on that one rooftop that has no elevator, has no zip line. But at least the intended rooftops will have multiple ways of getting up. You hope. You hope. I mean, this could be a Shanghai situation where there's 3 elevators and they all get camped by claymores, and you just die when you get to the top.
Speaking of the zip lines, and Enders just absolutely called it about and Nickel about how people will be on rooftops. I guarantee it. If you want an incentive to be on a rooftop as a sniper, just the idea of just sniping people on zip lines sounds hilarious to me.
Montage.
Well,
Let's go.
And there
Yeah.
will be the greatest amount of noobs on rooftops with snipers specifically just to do that.
And that plays into the elevator thing. Zipline elevator. When you're going up to this rooftop and there's no other way other than a locked, set, predictable way of getting up there, you're gonna die. So hopefully, maybe I guess the wingsuit person will help us, be the person that jumps from the high roof and jumps onto that roof and shoots them all in the back. But then you have to run that specialist, and you can't take a different
Well,
specialist.
We've already
Forget-
experienced this before.
I'm sure we
Hardline
have.
did this.
I-
Zip lines, remember?
Zip lines
we
and
had,
Hardline,
we had
yeah.
zip lines in Hardline, and on the bank map especially. I remember, I think it was
Oh,
the
you
tallest part of the
forget,
building. They
though.
were zip lining off of it, and I got a video somewhere where I think it was like 6 or 7 people jumped on that zip line, and I just like started, it's like dead. It's like, okay, that's awesome.
When you're locked into an animation and that's
yeah.
your way of getting up to a rooftop,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you're
What
gonna
I would
die.
be curious
Yeah.
about is if there is a trait where they will have that zip line like shooter thing back. Will that be a way that they can traverse it? So I know they have the grapple hook, right?
Hmm.
But the grapple hook is only for one person and then it's done, right? I wonder if they have something to where you'll be able to pull it out, shoot it, and then your squad mates or anybody else that's around
That's
you
got to
really
be how it works. Why would
jump
they
on.
just that's they've got to
No, they're pre-built. A lot of them that
Right,
they showed
there
are
are
pre-built,
pre-built.
and then there's maybe a
But
specialist that does
That's what
it.
I'm thinking. Like maybe there's a specialist that has the ability to shoot those in other areas that may not
It'll
have
be
those
like
pre-built.
Battlefield 2, Spec Ops.
Spec
You
Ops
guys
had it.
remember
You're
that?
right. Yeah,
Yep.
that had that had a grappling hook. I was just about to say that. Yeah.
And night vision goggles too.
Oh boy.
That's gonna be fun.
Where are my night maps from BF4? Where's my infiltration?
There's
of
gonna be
Shanghai?
IR and night vision.
Yeah.
Thermals are coming
2042.
back, baby.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Maybe even for
God.
tanks too.
That's gonna be horrible.
Oh,
UAVs
man.
too. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Fine.
I mean, overall, I am looking forward to the game. I think my expectations are severely curbed though, as to what
know.
what I was like previous Battlefields. I look at this game as a way that this is going to be fun to grind out with some friends. I'm probably going to be grinding the hell out of it till December. And then after December, if it does have problems, I'll drop it and I'll go back to doing what I was doing before. If not, then I'll continue playing it,
Yeah.
because that means that I will have friends that have come back. I've already got a couple of buddies of mine who are talking about coming back that I haven't played with in literally like
Same
4
here, yeah.
years. I mean, they stopped playing in 2016 after Battlefield 1 disaster. So I'm excited to get back to playing with them. And if it's good, then hopefully I can continue just grinding it out. But I mean, overall, I think it's going to be one of those games to where, for the first few months at the very least, when nobody, everybody's not all fed up with every single small glitch and exploit and bug crash that's happening, it'll be fun.
We shall see.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see on the 22nd. First off,
Yep.
then hopefully some people will leak the alpha to those of us who don't get in. We'll see some more.
Yeah.
And open beta comes around eventually, and see from there.
So on that note, I am curious if they do end up having a good showing, this next 22nd, whatever it is, it's a good amount of gameplay. How many people in chat, you guys as well, how many people will be pre-ordering the game?
Don't do it. Even if you want to do it, don't do it because you can buy the EA access, get it 10 days early, have unlimited play, and then return EA access only paying $15 instead of the full price.
I'm
And
gonna
if you
get
do,
it
if you
just
do
to
like it,
get
you
in
get
the
a
game
discount.
early.
Yeah,
Just to get into the
exactly.
game early,
There's
I'll
no reason to
pre-order it.
There is no reason to pre-order.
Right
Because
now, I
you
ain't got
can
paid
access
nothing.
it, get it early, and then get a discount on the full price if you want to buy it. So
Yeah.
don't do it.
So
Don't do that.
I'm not actually buying it until like the game comes out.
It's a great
I've
idea.
already kind of made up my mind on that one.
Smart. I mean, it's not like it's a limited commodity, right? It's a digital download. I've never understood
And
that.
I've got the Xbox Pass too. So if I want to play it early, I'll just play it on Xbox. Because the EA thing is now in Xbox Pass.
Yeah.
So
Right,
they're like
that's
one and
right.
the same.
Nice.
So, but yeah, I'm not too much of a snob on PC that I won't play on console for a little while.
I am.
Oh well, yeah, I am. I used to be all console. Then I came
Yeah.
over to PC, and I can't get back to the console controller without feeling very, very stupid.
I think content creators have a kind of a responsibility to buy the game, to pre-order.
I was about to say, it's like I feel stupid all the time,
Yeah.
so it doesn't really bother me.
I mean, I did. I did. I'm a sucker, whatever. But I
I mean,
bought every other one since the dog.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not gonna feel bad if I do, because like this is the one game I buy a year, almost guaranteed.
Exactly.
It comes out every 2-3 years, right?
Yeah,
I don't buy that many
that's
games, so
that's what I was kind of saying before at the very beginning of this. I mean, this is like I'm one of those people that I know I'm gonna play it. I know I am. It's gonna be a guarantee. So I'm gonna buy it anyways. Now, whether I'm gonna pre-order it or not is a different story. But I'll buy it. I definitely will in some form or fashion.
I want to get that skin.
Yeah, gonna get all the extra bonus skins and
you hide in the
content.
shadows, and then have a Warzone Rose kind of issue, or just people hiding in different corners.
Oh my
Nobody can see you. It'd be great.
Dude, I hope not. I hope not. Don't. I already have a hard enough time seeing things anyways. Like,
Well,
I was playing Battlefield 4 the other day, dude, and I swear to God, I was like, either my eyes have gotten worse or like the game all of a sudden has just gotten shittier
It
in
could
terms
be
of its graphics because
it could be both.
like,
My eyes have definitely gotten worse.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't see these people. Like I'm playing Zavod and I'm dying. I'm like, how the hell did I miss him? He's right freaking there.
Yeah. You know what's weird is we didn't actually complain too much about the draw distance and the the player visibility in BF4 anywhere near as much as we did until BF1. And BF1 was far better than BF5. So let's hope that there's a resolution.
We need to return to gameplay taking priority over graphics.
Yep.
And that graphics went, or art, or whatever you want to call it, went amok in BF5. And in a combination with losing 3D spotting, made everything impossible to see.
There's a reason.
There's a reason. Might be a crutch, but it's a good thing.
There is a reason that there are still people playing BF2, and that is one of the reasons. Yeah.
It's I think spotting is a necessary evil. You can find ways to tweak it, but it is for team communication and for visibility. If you don't do spotting like 3D Doritos, you need to do something like player outlines that are actually good. Battlefield 5 has them, Battlefield 4 has them, but Battlefield 4s are far superior to Battlefield 5, especially in combination with 3D spotting Doritos. The work that they did in Battlefield 5 before the beta, where they like hazed the background, just made everything look worse. And I thought that was my vision.
Well, I mean, Battlefield 1, it's been a while since I played it, but it had a pretty decent spotting. Like it made some tweaks to BF4s to where it wouldn't hang around as often.
No.
Or as long.
It had a Dorito, yeah, but it would disappear really quick, and it also had the outline for the player outline, especially for friendlies. So yeah, it worked pretty well.
Yeah.
I didn't mind Battlefield 1 as much.
No, it was fine. Yeah, it's Battlefield 5 where
the thing that I want to see is some kind of a ping system, because if we've got or proximity voice chat, because it can be turned on and off. It's not something that has to stay on.
Oh man!
But something that can be turned on and off, because there are. I mean, you're talking about having a 64-player team. It's already hard enough right now, and you're trying to get people. It's like he's right fucking there. You know, you can't ping him. So
that's what 3D spotting.
Yeah, but you're dead.
That's 3D spotting. You don't.
Can't be
I would love
shouting
to.
when you're dead.
Also, I would love to have a proximity voice chat and to be able to hear the other team so that we can have players like Enders or Focus or Kazage go through there and start just raping people and to just having a reel of people bitching the entire time.
Or just give me the Call of Duty death cam proximity or not proximity.
That's what I'm talking
voice
about.
chat.
Yeah,
You're gonna have so many. You're gonna have
Kill
so
them and
many
they go,
players. You're gonna have so many players with like the Trololo song like on auto cue ready to go every time.
They'd be stream sniping for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably not. Yeah.
No.
Oh, well.
Stop.
No.
Don't.
All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to be it here. We're gonna end it out. As Gravity said before, though, we'll probably have another one of these. I don't know, slightly before the beta comes out. You know, we'll get a good data dump that's going to be coming in here on the 22nd. Beta is probably going to be out sometime in September, I would imagine, like early September, late August. So we'll probably do one like mid-August, just before then, because there's going to be a lot more information that comes out. But we're not going to saturate it, that's for sure. You know, this is just something that we kind of wanted to get together, talk about, and have a nice little conversation. I'm sure it's going to be uploaded to YouTube as well. So we'll have this for posterity effects. We can go back onto it and go, oh my god, how
there's
how
plenty
naive
of there's plenty
That's
of
what happened
questions we
with
didn't
5
answer.
today.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I made calls to Battlefield 5 and I regretted them. I said certain things were good based off the alpha, then the beta came out and the rest of the game came out, and I'm like, oh boy, I should not have done that. I look stupid. Oh man.
Yeah.
It's just what we say now is not.
You think you look stupid? Okay, I'm still under NDA, but I was told that there was going to be big stuff happening for Battlefield 1, and I told teams, hey, you better keep playing because big shit's coming. And guess what? It never came. Oh man.
Yeah, well, we were told
I
the
know
same thing
exactly
for Battlefield 5, and it never came.
Yep. So anyways, guys, I think that's going to be it. You can find us all on Twitter right below our names here. We'll go around the board here. We'll start out with myself, just go, clockwise with Julian, Gravity, and Incarnate. But you can find me over on Twitch at BrettFX, as well as on YouTube, BrettFX Gaming. I don't really upload much on YouTube, but I do play on Twitch quite often now. So if you want to check that out, you can. Not going to be good gameplay, but I am there nonetheless. So Julian, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me here on Twitch, JulianJanganoo, and also on Twitter. Got a Discord as well, and sometimes I upload to my YouTube, but usually it's for my Battlefield Show podcast that I'll be probably
Which
it'll
are
be coming
awesome,
up
by the
soon.
way.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. I'll probably be doing one the weekend after the 22nd, but it really depends on what kind of information they give us. So, yeah, I'll be on tonight on Twitch, so that's where you can follow me.
You're up, Graf.
Oh, I thought okay. You didn't.
Clockwise.
Yeah.
Gravity,
That's
go ahead.
nice. All right. Well, you can find me on Twitter and Twitch at Gravity13, and my YouTube at youtube.com/GravityBFTV. I upload a ton of competitive Battlefield VODs from Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 2, along with my own, junk.
I'm in some of the Battlefield 4 ones, so
Yeah.
that's a reason enough to go to it.
Yeah. Yeah, if you've never seen competitive Battlefield 2, I had some recent VODs there, so that's a fun to throw a flashback. Casted a game today, casting 2 games tomorrow. Yeah. Crazy how well that works.
They want links in chat.
Post links. Get out there, promote yourself.
All right, I'll get my OnlyFans.
Oh boy.
Whoa. Let's
For
go.
myself, I'm not gonna worry too much about the socials. You can find me on Twitter. That's right there. That's if I'm ever active, it's probably gonna be there. I would say if I'm gonna shill anything, it's gonna be for my level GG events that are coming up right now. So I'm doing a 5v5 South American Cup. That's gonna be happening probably on the 1st of August. That's gonna be squad obliteration and domination. I'm working on a 12v12 Oceanic and Asia conquest season. So that'll be happening probably within the next 2 weeks or so. I've got 8v8 cups running every 2 weeks. That's for NA, EU, and South America currently. However, there might be some more expansion on that soon with a TM. And what else am I doing? I think that's all the cups for now. I also do stuff over at sim.gg. So if you have any experience with web dev or anything like that, please stop on by. And we could always use something for assistance or for help. We all work on it just for free. It's all open source, so you can check out our GitHub from the website and lend a hand if you want to for more Battlefield stuff or other titles.
Awesome stuff. All right, guys. Well, anybody got anything else? We're all
Nope,
good?
that'll do it. We're just we're all just gonna chill, and I think we're probably just gonna chill in here and wait AFK and for the next 5 days wait for more information in that gameplay, right? We're just gonna sit and talk for 5 days.
Are you kidding me? I'm gonna talk your ears off the whole entire time. I'm just gonna carry you around in my pocket.
5 days, guys, until we get some crazy new Battlefield 2042 information. Hey, at least it's modern, right? Come on.
Yep.
Yeah,
Or we just get a trailer and they don't show us anything.
probably.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
No, that's gonna
They
happen.
better.
Huh?
Nah, it's EA Play. I mean, comparing to last EA Play, but this is pandemic EA Play, so who knows?
Well,
what
they
they're
said
gonna
the
do
event
with
was
that.
going to be 45 minutes long or so, whatever video they're
Oh,
showing.
good.
So
Well, that's perfect.
So 5
Tons
minutes
of
of BF
information.
2042, whatever. But all right,
All right.
guys. Yep. Thank you
wait.
all. What?
The whole EA Play is 45
I
minutes.
think so. Yeah.
Oh God.
Or, yeah.
Okay.
5 minutes Battlefield, 25 minutes Apex, 15 minutes to something
Guys,
else.
yeah. If it's anything like that other EA video, it is 20 minutes of everything about Apex and then 2 minutes of Battlefield 4 or 2042. Yeah.
Fun. Okay. Cool.
All right, everybody. Thank you all for hanging out with us for this Battlefield 2042 roundtable. Once again, we hope to have another one of these. And we can't wait to play the game in a couple months and look back at this and how ridiculously silly we were. Yep. Have a good one, everybody. Have a great evening.
Guys, thanks for tuning in.